Good evening, FFR Irongol fans. We have a fun revenge match for everybody tonight. Another guda632, the Commissioner, versus WillBloodworth, the Emerald City Saint. This is, I believe, their third matchup. The second one was a little bit of a grudged match, kind of a little burner for Will, if I remember correctly. Maybe just didn't play as well as he wanted, so he immediately threw the gauntlet back down, and here we are just a little bit over a week later. So I am joined in the booth tonight by Karant. Karant, how you doing tonight, buddy?
I am doing quite well, thank you. How are you?
I think we're the tea party here, and I think you and I are both sipping on some tea, if I remember reading correctly earlier, so we can try and stay awake for this little later in the evening match. You know, I'm at least East Coast. I know one of our runners is West Coast. I think another one's Central. So I think the East Coasters have the brunt of it here.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, it's funny you mentioned the tea. I looked and it ends up not helping. It has no caffeine, so whoops.
That is a downer.
Womp womp. But yeah, I'm glad to be here tonight. I'm looking forward to another episode of Irongol craziness because, hey, that's why we're all here.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to give a quick rundown of the flags, I'll pop over to the other side and release the runners. We can get underway here in just a...
All right, so your seeds for tonight are some very interesting ones, certainly. For one, we have 22 items open, including the regular items as well as Defense, Thor Hammer, Opal Bracelet, Power Bonk, and the Ribbon. And we have all of the elemental dungeons are tri-state, which means they could have an incentive item and they could not. So we'll see as we go through it. We also have a shard hunt for 36 shards, so they're going to be opening some boxes anyway and taking down some fiends to get those shards. We also have some very fun shuffles going on. Entrance shuffle, we have town shuffle, we have floor shuffle. So, well, they're going to be dancing all over the place, and we're going to try to keep up with them.
Yeah, so runners have been released, so we should be getting them live here in just a second or two once the stream catches up to the runners. And so I think the other thing to note here is we do have a forced party tonight, if I'm reading the flags correctly. So we're running with a double thief, black belt, black mage, and I'm pretty sure WillBloodworth is smiling because, you know, if one thief is great, two's got to be magnificent. I know that's probably right in his wheelhouse, so I'm sure he'll be showing that off tonight.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he is one of the many advocates for the thief run, and looks like we have some magic checking on WillBloodworth's side with Nuke at level 1 and Black Mage, and a quick reset on Guda's end as he ran into some very nasty vampires to start with.
So that's, I want to point that out there just because I feel bad for chuckling, but it's something I've always dreaded happening in entrance floor shuffle. You know, a lot of runners, whenever this flag is set is on, they like running into Canaria Castle to see what's there in that first entrance, you know, maybe get some quick money, quick gear. So that was Guda's play. Unfortunately, he took a step. There was an encounter of unrunnable vampires. So he actually had to remake his entire party because of that.
Yeah, that's a very unfortunate first step. And now it looks like Will is just about to discover the truth for himself.
Yeah, I think Will's in a better spot here. Ooh, especially with this amazing turn order. This can get him some really quick levels. So as long as it's not, you know, as long as he doesn't take more than one step away from the stairs, he's going to be in a really good spot. That'll
yeah,
be nice early levels too.
Yeah, that looks like the approach he's taking because he sat there for a second and said, okay, one step's enough, and promptly ducked back out with his 10 grand. That's a good amount to start buying some items with.
Yeah, 10 grand, level 7. You know, well on your way for everyone across the board after one fight. I think I'd probably consider doing that for a little bit, get some comfy levels, make some, you gotta build up a bank for some gear real quick, you know, maybe get some money, because I think I saw a flame sword at least for sale.
Yeah.
Canaria, so that tells me we've got some random shops going on.
Yeah, it looks like Flame 3, so it's worth noting that we have blurs turned on for this, so you get your good items and your not so good items, as Fortune will have it.
Yeah, at least with being forced into that black belt, we may not necessarily care too much about the blursing on the weapons, depending on what kind of katanas we find tonight. Unfortunately, you know, Guda's black belt going down there to that vampire smack. You know,
yeah.
Vampires and vampires.
I mean, it's like they just locked on to the black belt and just let their own fists fly, I suppose.
And it doesn't look like Guda's bringing up the black belt, so I guess he's going to just lean into that double ninja strat, or I guess thief for now, because we haven't promoted yet. We just gotta maybe play WillBloodworth's game a little bit here.
Well, maybe. And it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, because especially when you're talking about a black belt, if you're going to be getting levels like that, you would presumably keep the black belt alive because of that MDEF. But if he's just going to have the black belt hold up the floor, then, well, I suppose we'll see how it shakes out.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to make that kind of call, within the first 2 minutes of the seed, like, hey, I think I'm good with my thieves being alive. I'm going to let my black belt do black belt things on the I just worry about if katanas or masa, the end game weapons that ninjas and thieves can use, if they roll negative. I'd hate to have to bring that black belt up later on and help them play catch.
Yeah, it is definitely very much a risk, but it seems like it's a risk that Guda's willing to take. And I mean, part of an Irongol, especially with some lovely seeds like this, is, well, never mind, he's bringing the black belt back, is taking those risks and seeing if they pan out, and if so, great. If not, then, well, kudos for trying at least.
Absolutely. So I expect this vampire grind to go on for a couple minutes, because this is honestly a really nice start to the seed for both of these runners. Level 1 nuke. I think that even if without the level 1 nuke, they had level 1 fire 3, so the seed was really telling them, hey, go kill vampires for a little while. So it's nice to see them both taking advantage of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially, I mean, with a seed, one of the things that we didn't mention in the flags is the bosses are clamped up to 300%, I believe is what I saw.
Sounds right. Let's double check real quick.
Yeah, I think it's up to 300%. So that means, I mean, you're going to want some power on your side, and especially if you're going to be going after orbs as one of your methods of shard hunting, you're going to want some power fairly quickly. So it's definitely a good investment to make, especially 2 steps away from guaranteed healing.
Yes, especially because, this sets up our runners for a lot of different things. So obviously on one hand, they're getting levels, which is great. That Black Mage will have a lot of spell charges, because he's really going to be doing a lot of the damage carrying at this part of the game, quite honestly. The other side of it, too, is going to be, all this extra money we can put in our pockets. We can also make use of, buying items, which I think Will's been doing here for a bit now. I know he's been buying houses and heals and soft and pure, so he's prepping either to dive further into this Mirage 2 floor, or I'd be interested to see if one of the runners goes off and starts checking other entrances without diving in here.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what Will was doing a moment ago when he reset out of being in the middle of nuking something, and then I guess he was just sort of trying to organize a strategy. But yeah, I'll be interested to see how far these guys take it, because they're certainly both committing to a pretty good investment of time. And of course, with the thieves in the party, once they get those levels that they want, then they can effectively run from just about everything else. They can sort of start a track meet with the rest of the game if they so wish.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'd be curious to see if Guda takes it much further. I know his Black Mage is 14. I think the Black Belt hit 11. I'd assume the Thief is probably somewhere right around those same numbers. I'm not sure how much further he's going to go, just because, we do know that at least the Ninja will be able to get some spell charges if and when they promote tonight. Like I was saying, though, that Black Mage being the biggest damage dealer at this point, just because that level 1 nuke's going to have to carry until we can find another town, maybe some other spell charters, maybe find some weapons for these thieves and, I guess, Black Belt Man. So,
yeah, it looks like it seems that they're both carrying it till probably the mid-teens, because Will's getting his 13s right now, and I don't know. I mean, I think they're going to be content about probably mid-teens, and then it'll be interesting to see where they go, because obviously they have possibilities. They could continue what they're doing now in the second floor of Mirage, or they could go off and see what Temple of Fiends becomes. And there's any number of options, especially with, I believe the ship is an early gift, so they can just go sailing off if they so choose.
Yeah, absolutely. I do want to point out one thing too that kind of both our runners kind of keyed in on and started doing here. Instead of walking the extra steps into the inn and resetting, they're making use of cabins right outside of the entrance here. And that way they can, once they do run out of nuke charges, because it's been either 1 or 2 rounds of nukes to kill these vampires so far, at that point they can just pop back in Canary. But it does speed up the fights a little bit. I mean, sure, it's not a huge amount of speed up, but it might be close to double, quite honestly, now that I think further about it.
Yeah, because it seems like they're going off the hard resets, because I believe that was what got them that one-step vampire encounter.
Yep, yeah, we saw that at the very beginning. As Guda walked in, saw it, took a step, got vampires, and had to reset and remake his party because they did vampire things to a level 1 party, which is not good things, let's be honest.
Oh, yeah. All right, so it looks like Guda has decided he's done with his vampire grind and is heading up to see what Temple of Fiends becomes. Meanwhile, WillBloodworth getting vampired a little bit.
So, shards tonight could be big. Ooh, Mage 4-stick, not the worst pickup here. I mean, another AoE spell for our guys. Maybe throw that on the thief or the black belt. In the meantime, Matoya, though, in the Temple of Fiends location, so not really much to do there aside from open up those 3 boxes.
Right. Yeah, so that means we're going to be sailing. And it looks like Guda's trying to encounter Manip a little bit before he goes sailing off, I would presume. See if he can get himself a bit of a hero sail. And it looks like he will do just that, so we're going to see what Elfland becomes. Elfland is underwater.
That's unfortunate. Those poor elves. And leads to a dead-end Cardia, so Elfland Town not going to do anything for us tonight. And Elfland Castle's Temple of Fiends, so that's really nice to find early, especially if the seed is generous and just starts throwing digs at us.
Yeah. Yeah, because you've got a very easy location to get back to for the end of things. And so chooses not to check. Well, now he's going to go presumably save and I guess check those chests before he goes cavorting off elsewhere. Meanwhile, WillBloodworth is continuing to take that vampire grind, so I figured he would stop in the mid-teens. I was proven wrong. He is in 17s right now, and looks like he is focusing a bit more on a black belt grind.
I like the play. I'm not going to lie. I like the play. So a lot of the power behind the black belt as being one of your main damage dealers is finding an early grind for him and getting up as high as you can so you can really trivialize everything after the grind. Finding a fort, well, anywhere from a 2 to I think we've seen 7 or 8 vampires so far. But finding this vampire pack is really nice off of a 1-step encounter. 2-manning is definitely the way to go here because you're not going to solo them down with that black belt. So you're not going to get as much EXP as you would for a solo grind, but for being 10 minutes in and you're already almost approaching level 21 on that black belt, it's a really huge advantage for Will here. Yeah.
Meanwhile, Guda is focusing a bit more on the exploration, and of course, obviously that has advantages too, because if he can find... Well, he just found ordeals.
Yeah, I mean, Pillar Maze is going to do Pillar Maze things, but, we do have a couple different trap tiles in here we can check. I don't know if he's going to be really worried about that, given that we have that, first step vampire pack to, get money and levels from. But I believe Ordeals is at least incentive. So we'll see what kind of key item we get out of this particular place for Guda tonight. There are a number of things in the pool. I'm sure he'll be hoping for some kind of progression item and not something like the defense sword, but I'm sure he wouldn't be sad to see that either.
Right. And yes, Ordeals is incentivized, so we're going to get our first key item, looks like pretty soon, because Will is very definitely committed to the black belt grind, and so I think Guda is going to be our first key item, as he is, finding out the pillars kind of the hard way, in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, when you don't have warp to kind of easily make your way through it, a lot of it just becomes trial and error. And right. I think the biggest challenge is trying to remember what rooms of the pillars you've seen when you go through the subsequent ones.
Yeah, exactly. I know more than a few times I've gotten myself turned around a little bit because I'll go, wait a minute, was this room 7 or room 4? Should I go back, or what am I doing here? And even with warp, it can kind of get confusing sometimes, much less without.
Aegis, I think it was a minus though, but we don't really care since no one can use it tonight.
Right.
Yeah, it was shard there for good.
Yeah, it was a -2. So if there were knights in the party, they would probably be cringing a little bit, but there are none, so I think we're good.
I mean, so far I've seen just a lot of negative items across the board. Like Pro Rings -3 is not the greatest you can ever find. Crowned for Gouda, so it'll be nice if and when we find Northwest Castle.
Right. Of course, I find it ironic that he finds Crown in Ordeals that was supposed to be Northwest Castle.
True, and in the vanilla game too, fun fact, you need the crown to get into Ordeals.
Right.
And so, I mean, I think most of everyone in the randomizer plays with that flag on. I'd say the vast majority of the time. So it's kind of funny. You get the crown from the place that you need the crown to get into. Oh, and Geist have Thunder. That's going to be something you definitely want to...
Ouch, yes. I think he was in that encounter for about 2 seconds before he promptly noped out. In fact, it was so quick, I'm glad you caught which enemy it was, because I didn't quite. I just saw the thunder going across and saw my own life flash before my eyes.
Yeah, at this stage of the game, when you have no ribbons, anything coming out that's a late game AoE on your party is going to really put a hurt on you. Ooh,
Oh, yeah.
Finding Canaria Castle in Marshland, or Marsh Caves, we have a herb from the king, and we've got some adamant for the dwarves from the prince.
Now, normally in the base game, those would kind of get you a bit excited because those would be pretty easy turn-ins, but because it's entrance shuffle, we don't know when we're going to find Dwarf Cave or Elfland Castle or any of the above, so we could be sailing around a while before we turn any of those in.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at the facts. So not only do Geists have Thunder, the Geists also have Lit 3.
Man, they're charged up to... Oh my god! Hello, Robot Chicken.
So for anyone who's never played with the Warmech Unleashed flag on, so this throws Warmech into the encounter pool. So as you can see on Guda's screen there from a couple seconds ago, Warmech can be just about anywhere in the game. Sailing on the ocean, hey, look, there's a Warmech. Paddling through a river system or walking through a forest, hey, there's a Warmech. So it'd be interesting to see if and when our runners start challenging Warmechs for some really fast EXP later on here today.
I'm sitting here trying to imagine Warmech just skating up to the party on the river. I mean, does he have like a speedboat pulling him up and you just kind of see him trailing in the waves? Or,
you know, I think that's a really nice visual. You know, Warmech turns on his afterburners, puts on like his wakeboard, just starts like shooting after you in the river system while you're paddling your...
Yeah, catches a big wake and just flies onto your ship.
Chat pointing out Warmech has logged on. He sure has.
Well, fortunately for Gouda, he could get away from said logging on. I guess he put up his firewall, but we'll see if that firewall holds later on.
Yeah, I think the best thing to do there is going to be relying on punching and nuking, and I think Will's going to have that advantage, at least for a little while here, as we seem like we're still doing black belt, black mage things. Ooh, Will's going to go further into Mirage too, so we're going to look and see what's in these 10 chests here.
Yep. And so we have obviously already had a little bit of a divergence, but this is even more so because Will's going to show us what all of these stairs give us, or at least if there's more than one. Oh, hello again, Robot Chicken.
So Gouda finding the Kraken floor down in the Matoya's cave entrance.
Oh, that's going to be a quick few orbs, especially with those levels that they've gotten if the bosses don't roll too badly, but unfortunately, Will getting the wrong end of the Warmech encounter. Gouda was able to escape, Will was not.
Alright, so we're going to see what's going on up here with the Kraken orb today. I guess we're going to hope for some nukes. Because I'm pretty sure a clamped Kraken's going to be doing clamped Kraken things with this party.
Oh, one would certainly presume. Oh, yes it is.
75? Yeah.
Yes it is.
Yeah, that's going to hurt. So we're going to earmark that one. We'll come back to that one a little bit later on when we need to, if and when we need to kill Kraken for a couple bigs tonight.
Yep. And speaking of a couple of bigs, that's about all that Will got out of the greater than, less than floor. The rest of it was nothing terribly remarkable, to be honest.
Yes, I mean, he's at least making the right play here. He's going to walk out, knowing Warmech's everywhere. He doesn't want to, lose the progression of those shards, because we do need 36 shards to go ahead and light up the black orb tonight and go in there and get into Temple of Fiends Revisited, go back 2,000 years. So we definitely don't want to be digging deep and, happen to lose a handful of shards. So only being one floor down, there's no harm. There's nothing wrong with backing out, saving, and then going right for the stairs again.
Right. Meanwhile, I see we have Sky 1 on Guda's side of things. So, let's see if there's anything interesting. Nothing so far. You just got that soft out of the first one, but hi, Metal Slimes.
Yeah, it's not a bad find here. So the thing you want to be doing, or at least trying to do, because I know it can kind of get away from runners when you have things throwing like lit threes and thunders at you every other monster, it seems. You want to try and be keeping an eye on how many encounters deep things are, especially Katana 3. That'll be happy for our deep comp. But you want to be trying to keep an eye on how deep the good formations are, like off your encounter table. So if you happen to find Masa 3, so this Skyfloor really paying out here big for Guda.
Oh goodness, yes.
Yeah, so encounters, finding the good mobs, keeping those in the back of your head if and when the vampire pack starts not working.
Right. And meanwhile, Will has found the bottom of Marsh on his end. So, a few possibilities here as well.
It looks like Guda's taking the scenic way out of Volcano here. Walking backwards on this floor can always throw you off, especially when it's in this really nice blue color palette as opposed to the traditional Volcano.
Alright, so Guda charging his way back in, and hopefully for him, he can find another chest-rich area, because if he can, then he's already gotten himself quite a few shards, so... Oh, he finds Sky 3!
Sky. Wow.
Well, I guess I called it. You're welcome, Guda.
Yeah, now, if he finds a second Katana 3 in here, I'm going to say this Sky provides, even though we're not in the traditional Sky Castle at this point, but it's still kind of doing what it does.
Yeah, wouldn't that be something, though? Oh, Will finds himself the chime.
It's a good pickup. We may or may not need it tonight, depending on where things fall and what happens to be behind the Mirage Tower entrance. So with floor entrance shuffle, you still need the particular items to get into the entrances. So you still need the chime to get into the Mirage Tower entrance. You still need the cube to go up the teleporter on Mirage 3. You still need the Oxiel to get into the on-rack dungeon, the submarine, but depending on where the dungeons fall, you won't need them to progress. So, once you found, Guda did, he's found the Sky Floors, he doesn't need the cube to be up here. He just needs the cube to activate that teleporter.
Right. It's also worth noting in the flags that the increase in XP is not tied to key items in this seed. It's tied to either lighting orbs or finding 8 shards. And I believe it's a 50% up for either of those.
Yeah, so the thing to keep in mind with that particular flag, it's designed that way to work with either just traditional orb lighting or with the shard hunt.
Right.
So when we're killing the fiends tonight and lighting the orbs, we're not really getting the orbs. So the orb aspect of that doesn't really do a whole lot for us. So we're just going for I believe you said it was the 8 shards per experience up, so that's really what we're going for tonight.
Yeah. So Will is walking his way out of the travails in Mirage and hopefully gaining another level or 2 while he's at it. Meanwhile, I think I saw Guda find, I believe, the 2nd floor of Earth.
Yep, and I'm not sure he's going to be really happy because a lot of these mobs down here, we saw it with the Geist, so I don't believe they're on this particular floor. Werewolves and Gerwolves, for some reason, at least when I'm running seeds, they always tend to have something nasty. When they come in giant packs of 7, 8, and 9, and you don't have a ribbon, you can run into a wall pretty quickly.
Right. One thing, though, that he does have for something of an advantage, at least to try to save resources, is when he was going through those sky floors, he was finding, I think, every black shirt -1 in God's existence, because he has 3 of them now.
Yeah, and that's something good to pick up on, too. So I believe he's seen the mage staff and now a black shirt. So I'd imagine he would keep maybe one of the 3 black shirts on his black mage, just in case we don't want to burn all our nuke charges. But I would definitely at least be throwing a black shirt and the mage staff on that black belt, even though he's swinging the Masa. Because Masa's not going to do a whole lot when you got to kill 7, 8, 9 things on the screen at once.
Right. And Will has found his Matoya, so he can pick up those chests and discover that they're not really that much, but still good to know where that is.
Yeah, just kind of watching here. So some of the things to note with these flags tonight, we do have, like we've been talking about, like the entrance floor shuffle. The big danger of entrance floor shuffle is going deeper in dungeons when you don't really have gear. So I think the majority of Guda's gear right now is like the Pro Rings -3. I don't think we've seen any real other body armor to speak of or other equipable armor. So when you're going through a dungeon, like say the first one you go into is like, I don't know, Earth 1. You know what mobs are there. But if you go down a floor and suddenly you're on Sky 4, there's a whole different group of enemies there, and they tend to hit a lot harder, depending on how things have rolled with a given seed. So that's one of the really big challenges of doing these entrance floor shuffles, is deciding on when you dive deep into an entrance and when you decide I'm just going to kind of scour the top and go across and see what I can find.
Right. It looks like we also have NPC Guillotine, because we just saw Guda execute a bat that was deigning to block his way.
That didn't deserve it.
Well, I mean, I guess the bats just triggered some perhaps bad memories.
Yeah, a little bit. Speaking of bad memories, our bones with frost.
Oh,
yeah, that's
God.
not something you want to see 3 or 4 floors down.
No, that'll make new bad memories for you.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Guda at least was able to get out of the Provoke entrance there. I'm pretty sure he walked away with the Masa and the Katana, and at least all the weaponry and everything. May not have had all the black shirts that he found, but
Yeah.
he's at least got some swinging behind his guys now, so his thief could maybe wear the Masa, his black belt, and do some punching.
Yeah. And it looks like on Guda's end, we're about to get the first look at what is supposed to be dwarves, and it is, well, part of Ice Cave.
Yeah, so Ice Cave is unique within the entrance floor shuffle. Not this particular Ice 2 floor, or the second floor of Ice Cave as you would normally traverse it. But once you find the bottom part of Ice where the holes are and everything, the bottom parts of Ice are all kind of kept together because the game doesn't really know how to separate that out quite yet. I can't recall if there's been talk about separating the Ice Cave out with the hole drops and making things work that way. But for the time being, if you ever find like the vanilla floater floor of Ice, you at least know what's going to drop down below it. And Will finding his Masa. So, our runners have been, for the most part, kind of been, I don't want to say quite hand in hand, because, Will's done a couple checks, like Guda hasn't, and vice versa. But they're all kind of doing like the same thing. They're checking entrances, they're diving down, they're seeing what's there, and they're kind of just going back and forth.
Yeah, they've effectively been shadowing each other. And Guda discovers that the fire dungeon chest was indeed incentivized, so Tri-State was try on his end, I guess.
Yeah, not only that, but it looks like we've seen 2 of the Fiend floors already. So we've saw the Kraken floor was in the Matoya entrance, and now I believe this is the Carry floor down on the Dwarf entrance. So 2 Fiends sighted. We may or may not need them for shards a little bit later on.
Yeah, well, it looks like Guda is going to go ahead and Fiend hunt, because he is going ahead and engaging Carry.
Yeah, I like the play. I mean, he's got more weaponry than when he tried the Kraken fight. He's got that Masa. He still has the nuke. Hopefully, maybe for Guda, maybe Carry will be a little bit nicer and maybe roll quite as beefy as Kraken. No, she still hits pretty hard.
Yeah, I was going to say, and then Carry punches and promptly proves that wrong. It looks like if nothing else, well, I was going to say, Guda's getting good turn order with that nuke, but Carry was getting better turn order with big punches, so whoops.
Yeah, and it's kind of like worst case scenario. So both of the Fiends we've seen so far and that Guda's pulled, all they've done is punch him. Like, we haven't seen a lid or a sleep or an ink or anything like that. It's just been like punch, punch, punch straight down the line.
Yeah, that's especially unfortunate for those poor mages. The black belt, of course, is he gets better defense as he levels up because of his lovely uniqueness, but the poor mages not so much.
Yeah, and especially when all you're wearing is a pro ring -3, that's really not better than like wearing a glove and a cap in the vanilla game. So yeah, you're just as squishy.
Yeah, it's oh boy. Well, it looks like Guda's gonna try it again. I suppose he's hoping for better turn order or I don't know. I guess he's just hoping that he can get better results all in all. So we'll see if it works out for him.
Yeah, probably hoping for maybe something other than a punch coming out every single round from Carrie. I don't dislike the play. I think I'd give it I'd probably give it 2 or 3 tries and then I would just leave, especially because it's only 2 floors down for a fiend fight.
Right.
Only blocking 2 shards. It's not like it's really gonna hopefully make or break you at this point.
Yeah. And it looks like it was an even worse attempt on Guda's end this time because last time he got really good rolls on those nukes. This time, not so much.
A couple, I think 109 and 200 out of the 3 rolls, and I'm surprised he's not going back down there for that TNT just because we know where it's at, and I think you can kind of get out pretty easily with it.
Yeah, it looked like it wasn't too bad to try to get out of there, but I suppose, if he's got it marked that it's there, if nothing else, he can obviously come back for it. But yeah, I'm a little surprised too, especially given that it was fairly easy.
Yeah, worst case scenario is going to be, he finds Dwarf somewhere like in a Crescent Lake or down in like the Onrak location, and the TNT Dwarf is going to be blocking something like Canoe or some other progression that leads to, more travel methods like the Canoe or the Floor.
Yeah. Well, we had a giant sighting over in Vanilla Melmond, and now we have, well, another Earth floor in what would be the Titan's Trove.
So both runners hanging out on Earth floors at the moment, so we'll see what they do here. I fully expect Will. He's probably going to, I think he's picked up some decent stuff, and oh no, Geist Pack.
Oh,
and
God.
Guda knows what.
Yep. Although, looks like this time the Geists have decided to cooperate because I didn't see any magic come out of them before that Mage 4 decided to, sing a little chin music itself.
Yeah, though it didn't quite sing hard enough, so that nuke had to still come out. So
yeah,
I'd definitely be a little bit concerned and maybe second guessing myself if this initial dive doesn't go great if I'm in Guda shoes, because I don't know if I want to take unrunnable Geist Ghoul packs while I'm down here.
No, that's not exactly my idea of a good time, I will say.
All right, so still, we really haven't found any still armor to speak of for either of these parties. Like, I think every piece of armor we've seen has been a negative. Chain -2 they can't use. I think there's the Aegis -2 they can't use. The Black Shirt -1 that, they can technically use it, they just can't wear it for gear. But this has been not a very armor-friendly seed so far. At least the Moss and the Katana rolled well.
Yeah, the armor's been pretty crappy all around, and of course they've not been able to find very many towns by which they could potentially buy better armor. So it's really been they're having to really grind things out in a sense, if nothing else, just to try to keep themselves going.
Yeah, it's a really nice thing for the runners that they both did find, the game gave them nuke at level 1. I say gave because, when nuke's like 2 or 3 digits for your gold, it's pretty much giving it to you.
Yeah.
But then having Empire pack right off the power cycle in the very first place you can go and check. Yeah, very smart of both of our runners to, 30 minutes ago take that grind for a bit and get some levels in gear because they're really needing it at this point.
Right. Yeah, I rather shudder to think what this seed would have been without that combination, because if one of those is not there, then this is a lot less friendly for them.
Absolutely.
All right, so it looks like Will is, very intentionally going through at least the things that he found in Provoca, and I see Guda has discovered the first floor of Marsh Cave.
Ooh, the Marsh Split. You hate to see it 2 or 3 floors down, but, here we are.
Yeah, that's true.
So the thing that's unique about the Marsh split, and it's kind of, I say unique because only the Sea Shrine, the first floor of Sea Shrine, shares the same thing too. But that floor has 2 exits, that you can go into off of your initial staircase. So depending on how deep those dungeons go, it can kind of become a significant time investment to dig it out and see what's where. And especially without deep towns turned on, it can, the thing you'd hate to see is it turn into like a dead end. I believe we've already seen one of the Cardia dead ends tonight, but if you go down 5 or 6 floors and there's a Cardia dead end, and you've picked up some decent stuff, like maybe you found a couple shards, and you don't have warp or exit, that's a long way back up just to get out and save it.
Yeah, that's a hardcore feels bad, man. So it looks like Will is rolling through the 2nd floor of Earth and finding decent items, but nothing too particularly spectacular because we'd seen it already on Guda's end.
Yeah, the thing Guda's finding, so he found the Earth 1 floor, so he decided to check the trap tiles here. The first fight that he saw was the Hydras, which wasn't a big deal. The second tile in the Hall of Giants is these worms, so not only do they seem to have a bit of HP, they've got rub too. So it's really nice that he's able to get the pro rings up on his guys, so that should keep them alive. It's just a bit of investment being this far down in this particular dungeon.
Yeah, it looks like he was content just taking 1, which I don't blame him for. Like you mentioned, that rub can, if you don't have the pro ring protection, can hit you pretty hard, but he did, so fortunately he was able to prevail a little bit, but content just taking 1 of them. I think having that vampire grind pretty easily accessible is informing how he's treating any of the other grind tiles, which is understandable.
Yeah, I mean, if you find something that's like super squishy but super high HP yielding, yeah, it's not going to hurt to take it. It's just one of those things where it's that risk versus reward play. It's, what are you really going to gain from, going from level 17 to level 20? Ooh, and Will finds dwarfs, and this is something Guda bailed out of early.
Yeah, and it's rather unfortunate that Guda bailed out of it because he knows where the TNT is, and he also has that adamant, so it could have made for a very lucrative key item check for Guda, but hopefully he'll go back and find it a little bit later. But it's kind of a little bit of a game of what might have been now.
Yeah, and that's one of the dangers of doing bailing out on a location before you can fully clear it in these entrance floor shuffles. So it's one thing if you're diving down and you find like the cube locked floor, or you find like the rod locked floor, and you can't progress. But if you're diving places and you happen to find a way you can get through, but maybe just the mobs aren't playing well in your favor, and you bail out and leave it, that's just one of those things that can really come back to bite you. And I'm hoping Guda remembers that he didn't get all the way to the bottom of that Provoca location and goes back there.
Yeah.
I expect Will to be able to get that pretty quickly, though, because he's going to head down to the Elfland area. He's going to go ahead and check out. He'll eventually find Canaria Castle down in Marsh, and he'll find, I believe it was a Temple of Fiends here in Elfland Castle. So He'll be able to at least get the adamant to the dwarves and see what they have. And then once he makes his way over to the dwarf cave, he'll have the TNT, and I expect he'll turn that in too. Yeah. So he may get an early lead over Guda depending on how this pans out.
Yeah. So Guda is reinvesting in what is now obviously Earth 1, but he's going to check and see what the rest of it is, and perhaps find some hope. Well, obviously he's hoping for more shards, but maybe find some more good items. It'll be interesting to see how Will ultimately plays this, given that he has that knowledge of dwarves. If he finds those items, I expect him to go back for that check pretty quickly. And hopefully he can find some progress, because we haven't found a whole lot progress-wise yet. We've obviously, got the, one runner has a crown, another has a chime, but nothing really beyond that.
Yeah, and without things like the canoe or the airship, they're really running out of places to check. So,
yeah.
Where Guda's at right now, he can still go to Earth Cave and check that. He can make his way to Crescent and check that. And then after that, he's really stuck with doing things like Honorak and Mirage.
Yeah.
So depending on what floors pan out, I mean, he may be doing a bit of backtracking and that's a lot of overall routing back and forth that may eat up a lot of time for him, unfortunately.
Yeah. So, given that I've never run any sort of a entrance randomizer, floor randomizer, and I got my butt washed out of spring tournament, so I didn't get to the town shuffle stage of it. When you're running something like this, how many notes are you taking? Because I've noticed Will pausing several times, and I'm assuming he's taking notes of various floors and locations.
So for me, I have a tracker that I made that I use for it.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of modeled after the one that's out there within the community, the files tracker for entrance and floor shuffle.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm absolutely making notes of like every single entrance I go to. If I come across a floor that I can't get past, like it's cube lock or rod lock, I'm definitely making a note of where that is, because the last thing you want to do is when you're running these things, like say you clear all your dungeons and you're sitting there scratching your head like, all right, where the heck was that marsh split at? Like, which dungeon was that in? Because I don't think I ever cleared out the bottom half of that. And if you don't have really well written out notes, at least for the important features you want to remember, you could really sit there and burn a lot of time backtracking and double, triple, quadruple dipping places just to, check one floor that you may have missed.
Yeah.
But no, notes are super vital within any kind of like floor shuffle. Like entrance shuffle, maybe not so much, just because once you find, like, say, volcano, everything under that's volcano. It's nice to make quick notes for it, at least for the major things, but entrance floor shuffle, 100% take notes as you go.
Yeah. And I see that Gouda has discovered mermaids in the south part of the marsh split, so he's busy looting the poor mermaid's treasures and...
Finally finding some good armor, except we'll never use it.
Yeah, exactly. It's just smacking them in the face again, going, "Oh, you wanted those pluses? Oh, you totally can't use them ever. Haha."
Oh, it's +5 on an opal. Oh, but it's chest armor, not that bracelet you were really hoping for. I'm so sorry.
Womp womp.
At least this thief can wield that dragon sword. It's definitely better than that coral, I think, -5 he's found. So definitely relegate that coral sword to the trash bin.
Yeah. And I say Will is having himself a good bit of fun with some frosties, so those can... it looks like they're not really able to hit his thief terribly well, so he's getting the good end of that encounter, it seems.
Yeah, and I mean, he's got those black shirts too, so I mean, not the greatest of damage output on some frosties, but hey, free damage is free damage, and it's not eating up his nuke charges.
Right.
Speaking of eating up, Warmech just devours that poor little black belt over there on Gouda's side as he's making his way to the top floor here.
I was gonna say, yeah, meanwhile, Warmech doing Warmech things all over the place.
Not only... Oh no. So not only is the marsh split in the Titan's East entrance, so is the Sea Shrine split.
That has to be just utterly confounding. One split leading to another split. Just, my goodness, yeah. Like you mentioned, notes are good. Notes are very good, and notes would be insanely good in that sort of case.
Oh, absolutely. And it's one of those things too, and this is something I think there's no right answer to when you're running like an entrance floor shuffle. But there's two big schools of thought. One's go wide, check all your entrances, especially when you don't have deep towns on. The other one's like go deep and see how far you can get and dig out what you can and figure out, where the good floors are at. Either the treasure dense ones or the ones that have like incentivized. So there's not really a good answer to which one's better, but the thing that really hurts Gouda here is I think he's like 8 floors deep now, and we're still no end in sight, and he's still got a whole nother branch to go.
And he just got Warmeched out too, so that doesn't help.
Yeah, I like the play of leaving here. Kind of like what you were talking about. We haven't seen other magic. The thing he's going to have to hope for now is like finding either Provoca or Elfland or even maybe Melmond soon.
Yeah.
And having Warp be in a learnable slot for him.
Right. Also, a slight side note, another flag that we haven't mentioned yet, Melmond is infested with monsters. So
it sure is.
If he finds Melmond, it's not going to be the security blanket that we typically hold it to be.
Chat's keeping us on our toes. That really hurts
Oh.
Gouda here. Hello, it's me. I'm Warmech. I hurt Gouda.
Well, to be fair, Warmech is a democratic sort. He hurts everybody equally.
Yeah, he's an equal opportunity herder. He doesn't discriminate whatsoever.
Everybody has a place in Warmech's pain train.
Alright, so I expect Will's probably heading back up to Canary to buy some more supplies, do some shopping, I think some resin potentially too. Gouda going back into that Marsh Sea Split area, and I think he's going to press his luck again and hope that Warmech stays away for a little bit longer.
Yeah. I think Will may be going ahead and going to... Looks like he might be pushing for that adamant turn in.
Ooh, that's a good call. He is.
Which, I mean, is obviously a good move, but we know that if he explored a little bit more, it'd be an even better move, because then he could bring the explosives along with him.
True. I'm sure we'll get there, though.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, as long as he, talks to the Rage Dwarf every single time, I don't think anyone can complain about double, triple, quadruple dipping the dwarf.
Well, I was going to say, it's... So, I assume the Hooray Dwarf is exempt from NPC guillotine this time?
I hope not.
Ugh. You hope he's not exempt?
He deserves it just like every other NPC in this game. If I've got to guillotine you because you're in my way,
Oh, come now.
I don't think anyone should have guillotine immunity.
Ah. Well, the Hooray Dwarf is all about good vibes and happy times. I quail at the thought of him being executed like a filthy commoner.
He's too exuberant for me. He's too jubilant. I can't have that. He's way too high energy.
Well.
He's at like a 20. He needs to take it down to like a 6.
Well, I suppose different chops for different folks. Oh, well, I happen to like the positivity and energy, although... apparently Reese agrees with you.
Hoo-hoo! Huge find for Will Canoe from the...
Yeah, I was gonna say, hello, progress. So, now, to a fair degree, this even more intensely becomes a story of does Gouda remember that he hasn't completely dove Provoca?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, the further away we get from going back there, the less likely things are going to look for him, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Although...
So, the right C-splits on the marsh, or the Cardia dead ends.
Oh, dear. That's gotta feel awful on Gouda's end, because he's found 2 of them, right?
Yeah, he's found both of them so far, so I think that's...
Yeah.
There's only the 2, so at least those are off of the list.
Yeah, true.
So Air's stunning, Air's having lit 2, hopefully that's the worst they have.
Yeah.
At this point, Gouda just wants to get back over to that C-split and go left and see what's there, as Will's getting out of the Provoke area with his canoe, so that opens up a lot more areas for him. I still expect him to go back down to the Elfland area, go hit up northwest in Marsh Cave, and then he'll, I'm sure, be coming back here with that dynamite like you were saying.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because, like you said, it opens up so much, so the question is, do you finish off what you at least had access to, or do you set sail for new horizons? And considering how close to the coastline he's sticking, I'm thinking he's going to go ahead and explore the new horizons, and maybe not reset. I think he's trying to figure out what to do.
Yeah, I think he's trying to figure out what his best play is here. So I think for me, I don't think there's really any right answer with regards to going down and checking maybe like Crescent, Volcano, and Ice, because at this point for Will, anything could still technically be anywhere.
Yeah.
But I would at least definitely finish up like this inner sea stuff before I go anywhere outside of here, like before I shoot down to Onrak or Mirage or Ordeals or anything like that.
Right.
So
yeah,
he split left before you pop in real quick. Cardia Treasure, so at least there was something in that Cardia for.
Yeah. Cardia finally did something for him. I was just going to say that usually in a randomizer like in a run like this, when you pick up the canoe, you enter into a little bit of a decision paralysis possibility because so much opens up to you. But especially in an Irongol like this, where you have no clue what it really opens up, I imagine it's very tempting to go explore, and it looks like Will is going to cave into said temptation, and at very least, well, it looks like he's heading for presumably Crescent Lake, or at least what we think to be Crescent Lake first.
Yeah, I mean, like we were saying, there's no real, one's not weighted. Ooh, Melmond and Crescent spot, so second town sighted.
But an infested town, so he can't be off his guard just yet.
Yeah, so for those watching, if you're not familiar with the way Zozo Melmond Flags works, it's named after the Final Fantasy VI town of Zozo, where there's critters infesting the town that you can take random and fights in. But when you're in Melmond here, if that flag is on, if you walk in the desert tile, it advances your encounter steps on your encounter table, so you can take fights like Will just did here on those desert tiles.
And if you're not familiar with Zozo, well, if you ever play Final Fantasy VI, you will become very familiar with Zozo, and you will come to hate it and revile it like all the rest of us.
Yeah, so Guda went back down. Looks like he's, I believe he left like a Biggs or something down here in the Mermaid, so I'm thinking he's wanting to fish that out before he completely abandons this Titan's East. So our tracker's pointing out on the back ends. We have, I believe it was Ice 3, Quake, and Bane here in Melmond for that Black Mage. It didn't quite see which one was in slot 3, but at least we've got something other than Nuke for our people to cast, so he doesn't have to rely so heavily on that level 1 Nuke.
Right. Of course, I mean, that's in many ways a good problem to have. Gee, let me try to find another spell other than level 1 most powerful spell in the game. Of course, that being said, spell charges are still a thing, and you still want something else to try to tide you over if need be.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason you'd want to see more spells is because, when you're in these really long dungeon dives like a Guda is, depending on what's unrunnable, you can run out of nuke charges really quick, so having a second spell, we'll find another town. So apparently the whole intercontinent by Volcano has all the towns, and Guda's not going to see that for a little while yet, because he's avoiding that canoe.
Yeah, I was going to say, so apparently the temperature is rising in Elfland to very, very hot levels, so they're definitely going to be able to work on their tan today.
So are they like victims of environmental change? So like Elfland town was underwater, and now they're living in a volcano. Did they just head for higher ground and hope for the best?
I suppose. I mean, it looks like if they did, they got Pompeii'd on the way to it, so...
Yeah.
Bad for them, but good for historians later who will be able to dig it up. Sorry, I am a history teacher, so I can make that joke and get away with it.
Oh no, you're fine. Yeah, not much really great in Elfland today, aside from that Lit 3 spell at level 4. I think that was the highlight of all the shops here combined.
Yeah, I was about to say, that was a very, very quick check of Elfland, which obviously indicated that there wasn't much to see. Because I sort of blinked and Elfland was gone, and I'm going, okay, so clearly there wasn't much to see there, because it just kind of blew through it like a tornado, almost.
Yeah, so looks like Guda's heading south, so I'm thinking at this point he's heading to, I believe he's going to go over to Crescent. I think that's where he's heading currently, because now he's going west.
Yeah.
And so he'll find Melmond over there. And then the only things left for him at this point, because I don't think he has the chime yet either, is the only thing he can do is head down to Onrak, and then he's got to start doubling back depending on what he finds there.
Yeah. Yeah, because obviously we know he hasn't dug deep enough to get the canoe, so his mobility options are a lot more limited. Also, Will finding out that Ice Cave basically shows him a giant Tuchus, so that's not terribly useful at the moment.
Yeah, no Ruby. I mean, it is something you want to keep track of, because Titans is incentivized, so it's something we'll want to come back here for later.
Right.
I believe we've already seen the Titan's East entrance too, so he doesn't necessarily have to paddle all the way back to Ice Cave to get to it.
Right. Yeah, I don't recall exactly where that East entrance was, but we definitely have seen it.
Oh, it was in Melman. That's what it was.
Okay.
So I expect Will probably get back in his ship. I expect him to maybe either land back at Elfland, or I expect him to take the river system by Northwest Castle. And I think he'll check out those two entrances next. That's got to be his next play. I can't see him leaving the Inner Sea and not checking those things. Unless he's gonna go to Dwarves first, so he'll find he'll find the TNT there, so that'll be nice for him.
Yeah.
Now, if the TNT turns into the floater, and I'm not a fan of doing commentary curses, but so far I feel like that's all I've done for Guda tonight between the Cardia dead ends and all these deep dungeons he's dove. So if TNT turns into floater, I'm gonna swing it to huge advantage to Will at this point. But we'll have to see what it turns into here in a few minutes.
Yeah, that feels like it would almost be the ultimate troll on Guda at this point, given what he's done in terms of dives. But of course, there obviously are plenty of options.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be like a make or break thing for Guda, because, I mean, remember, this is about shard hunting. It's not necessarily about lighting orbs.
Right.
So the nice thing is, at least by Guda doing all this exploration and going deep in all these entrances, he's at least finding some stuff in there. Unfortunately, though, it feels like, I think he's going back to provoke. He's back in the Inner Sea. But it just feels like, it's one of those things where it really depends on where things fell. Like, I don't really recall him finding like a huge number of the shards tonight in some of the entrances he's gone to. I think he's come out with like maybe one or two. So
Yeah, I think combined I believe he has 10 to 12, if I'm remembering his item screen correctly. But yeah, there's not been anything that's really stood out as far as a copious number of shards in one place.
No, so hopefully for Guda, he'll recall that he hasn't fully cleared out the Provoca entrance, since he is back here in Canaria buying supplies now.
Yeah.
So if he goes anywhere but east after he gets out of here, we might be in trouble.
Yeah.
He also hasn't checked out Canaria Castle, so I think that'll probably be his first play. Thinking maybe he just missed something there behind all the vampires.
Meanwhile, Will looks like he's resting, getting his spells back, and I think he's going to try to take Carrie down. We'll see if his extra levels make a difference in this, because, of course, he carried on that vampire grind a bit longer, and we saw Guda get just flat out abused by Carrie, so I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
I mean, he's got a couple things going in his favor for this Carrie fight. So one is going to be he has at least all 4 party members up, whereas he's actually going to check the often ignored chest on the right-hand side of Carrie's floor.
Oh my goodness.
But I like this play, especially during entrance floor shuffle, because, you never know what's here. And you never know we're going to find the Agama floor. So 9 grand, not going to really do a whole lot, but it is something.
Yeah.
But back to the Carrie fight, though. So the things that Will's got going for him, obviously, like you said, he's got the higher levels, especially on that black belt. But when Guda was here earlier, he also only had 3 party members up. So depending on who Carrie hits and for how hard, this might be able to go a little bit longer. We might see a fiend kill here for some couple shards on Will's side.
Yeah. Well, we shall see. Looks like... I was going to say, it looks like most of the party members are swinging various items and not seeming to do a whole lot. But going for the stun. And unfortunately, it didn't go, but it's an interesting play to try to soften Carrie up the status way, I suppose.
I mean, she is susceptible to some status effects, obviously, because otherwise we wouldn't be, we wouldn't have seen like the wizard staff strats on Carrie in the past. She just doesn't want to have any of it today, unfortunately. So we're gonna see if maybe we can stun her and stop her from swinging, and ineffective. So we'll just kind of feeling out the water here, I think, for Will.
Yeah. And unfortunately for him, it didn't quite work out. So I think he's diving in again. So I'm presuming he's probably going to go with more traditional strats next time.
Yeah, I'd assume so too. He might even consider doing something like moving the wizard stick over to maybe one of the thieves that doesn't have, a real strong weapon. and then just punching with the black belt, swinging with the Masa wielding thief. I believe that's who he has it on, and then just nuking. I think that'd be probably the better approach at this point.
Yeah. I think his second thief is the one that has the Masa, so he'll be... So, yeah, it would make sense to move the wizard staff to that first thief, although it doesn't look like he did that.
That's all right. Will knows what he's doing. I know better than to question him, so we'll see how this works out. We're going to try it again, though. More status effects on carry. Just really hoping something lands here.
Yeah, it seems like he really is banking on that stun, and unfortunately, it's not banking back.
No, and Carrie says, I don't want any of this, and she just goes right for that back row. Hits the poor little black mage there.
I mean, while Gouda picking up his chime in Marsh.
Yeah, so we're over 2. I think we've gone 8 rounds now, and we haven't seen any status effects land on Carrie, so that's a little bit unfortunate.
Yeah, it's definitely. I will admit, I'm still fairly new to the game, so I don't know a lot in terms of the percentages in regards to status effects, but that seems like just really bad luck on Will's side of things.
Yeah, that's a little bit out of my wheelhouse as well. I know things work. I can't sit here and quote you exact percentages like some of the members of our community can, because we have some people who know the guts of this game exceptionally well, and I am not one of them.
I just get my guts handed to me by the game. I don't know any of them.
Yeah, that's a familiar story. So I think we've seen between the two runners now combined 5 carry fights, and I don't think she's ever used a skill or a spell. So at this point, I'm going to say that Carrie knows to do nothing but punch.
That's how it seems, yes. And Will is continuing to try. He's making it a point to try to take Carrie down, it seems.
Yeah, it's an interesting call. I think that you've got to make that cutoff point. Like, hey, after 3 or 4 tries, I'm going to bail and come back later. Because like we mentioned earlier, the carry kill is only to give you 2 shards. But if all she knows how to do is punch, and your best gear you still have equipped is a Pro Ring -3, because I don't think we've still found any armor for really either of our runners at this point. That's a lot of pain coming your way. When she's 300% clamped, you might be hard-pressed at this level to pump out possibly 1,800 damage before she gets you through 4 rounds. So
yeah, it is a kind of... I'm confused as well, honestly, because I think after, especially seeing how hard Carrie punched, I think after 2 or 3 bonks on it, I think I would have steered myself somewhere else.
But God, that confused the land finally. This might work out great for Will here.
Well, I mean, certainly he'd been giving it enough tries, so it's good to see that it finally took root.
Unfortunately, he only got the 1 round out of it, but maybe that'll be all he needs, depending on how his black belt and his thief do here.
Yeah.
So while we're playing with Carrie over here on Will's side, Guda's making his way back to check the Provoca entrance, so he's going to find his dwarves here in just a minute, and we'll see what the TNT is going to turn into. Wizard stick not getting it done for Will, unfortunately.
No, and it looks like after attempt number 4, he has decided he is going to seek greener pastures.
Yeah, definitely the right play here. Four fights of his own. He's seen nothing but punches from her. He knows that's all she's got in the chamber, and he knows his characters can't currently stand up to it. So
right.
So it looks like we're going to have almost I don't want to say simultaneous, because I don't think they'll be exactly at the same time, but both of our runners heading back to Provoca. Duda's only a couple floors away from the Dwarf Sanctuary that's hidden down there. Will's heading back there that way now, so he'll be able to turn in his TNT. Kind of swings back in Guda's favor at this point, just because, Guda has done a bit more of the exploration game. And, he'll be able to get that canoe, then he'll also see what the TNT turns into.
Right. Yeah, it is interesting how this is swinging. I mean, because you would have said just a few minutes ago, maybe Will was in the lead, and then he bonked himself against Carrie a few times, and that was enough to kind of swing it back. But that's also part of what makes Irongol so exciting, is it's kind of hanging on a thread, really, no matter how you swing it.
Guda? Don't you have the TNT, buddy?
Explosives. Please deploy explosives.
Oh, no.
Oh, dear. Well,
I'm sure he has them. I don't think he's I can't see him coming back here without both of the items because he knows where they're at.
Yeah.
We get an Ice Cave high five from our runners here real quick.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, our tracker shows that he does not have the TNT, so maybe he realized that he didn't have it, and so he's coming back to go get it, I suppose.
Yeah, we'll find out here either when he runs back to the Dwarf Cave to pick it up and heads back this way, or when he opens up his menu. So, key from the TNT, so not the travel item necessarily, but, definitely opens up a bunch of boxes for...
Yeah. And Sun -3, so the wieldable weapons finally roll into insert territory. Or insult territory, rather.
Yeah, 2 bigs at least, so, 12 shards on Will's side. I think Guda's right around the same number over there. We'll see in just a minute here.
Yeah, I believe he's right about the same point. Also,
Tracker's pointing out on the back end. Buckler +2. Yay, armor finally.
Yep. And Chad is as well, so we have ourselves a joined armor celebration at long last.
So Tracker's also saying that earlier Guda did happen to, he grabbed the TNT, went down to carry and wiped and didn't save, and he didn't go back in for it, so I expect that to most likely be his next play here, since, it's clearly not in his inventory.
Meanwhile, Will getting at least one business end of those Thundergeists, but he was fortunately able to pull it out and will hopefully be able to escape from the ice cavern. Meanwhile, Warmech skating up to Guda on the river, so hopefully they'll have themselves some grand water sports.
Yep, so Guda's going to be able to check out and find out Elfland in the volcano tonight, and then he'll also find the back entrance of Titans over there in Ice Cave, so he'll at least be glad to see a second town. He'll be really disappointed when he finds out that the only decent thing there is Lit 3.
Right. So Guda is busy exploring Elfland and, is gradually learning the bad news. Meanwhile, looks like Will is fortifying himself to make his way out of all the provoker runs, of course, with his key and act. And it looks like he's pretty well on the way to making his way out. And Selene, those minus numbers are what we call blurst. It's blessed and cursed weapons and armor. The blessed weapons and armor have just the numbers, and then the cursed have the minus numbers. And as we've seen in this seed today, nobody likes armor, apparently, because virtually all the armor items have been minus in their categories, which can't be fun for a party full of thieves and mages. It looks like Will is making his way back to town to presumably revive and restock, and Guda discovered that Ice Cave was home to the Titans Took Us and decided he wanted no part of it, so he has bopped out. And looks like he's going to discover his Crescent Lake, which we know to be an infested... Well, maybe he's not going to go for Crescent Lake, but we know, of course, that Crescent Lake is the infested Melman.
Yeah, well, actually, Guda was there earlier. He went to Crescent down Melman before he swung back over there to dig back down into Canaria Castle and provoke it.
Yeah, that's right. He came at it from the other direction. So, apologies.
Yeah, so he's now at least got a couple more options on the table. So, I think the only thing he's missing, and this kind of goes back to the question you asked earlier about taking notes. Hopefully, Guda took notes and remembers where that TNT is. It looks like he does, so. So after this for Guda, I'm sure he'll go in. I'm curious to see if he's going to give Carrie another shot. Speed Gaming 5 coming in with a rate of 58. Thanks, guys, for heading over and over, watching this, joining us tonight for this FFR Irongol match between guda632, the Commissioner, and WillBloodworth, the Emerald City Saint.
Yes, welcome everybody from Speed Gaming 5. It's great to see y'all tonight. I hope you guys are having a fantastic Sunday evening. And we have a loose crystal on Will's side.
Ooh.
And then Warmech promptly wanting to steal it from him.
And Warmech doing Warmech things.
This is why we can't have nice things, because Warmech won't let us.
So hopefully Will can get away from these R-Bones. We know they have Frost. He's about to find out. And a Shard. So decent haul down here from the bottom of Marsh. I'm curious if and when Guda checks this as well after he picks up his key event.
Right.
Because so with the flags that they're running tonight, they knew from the start that could be between 0 and 4 loose, depending on what ended up as tri-state. Will showing us there's at least 1 loose in the pool with that crystal pickup. And he knows where Matoya is, so I'm sure he's going to probably beeline that and go and hand that over to her and see what she's got for him tonight.
And for those of you who just joined us from the raid, if you're trying to figure out what you are watching right now, this is Final Fantasy Randomizer ramped up to 11. It is what we call the Irongol Heavy Metal Championship, which is a series where some of our finest runners challenge each other to some pretty crazy flags. Today, what we have is a floor and entrance shuffle, which means that virtually every entrance in the game can be virtually anything else in the game. And it can get very crazy at times.
Yeah, so not only do we have the floor entrance shuffle on, but we also have Shard Hunt on. So that's a treasure hunt mode, essentially, for the game. So vanilla game has you going and lighting up the 4 orbs, heading back to the Temple of Fiends, lighting the black orb, and heading back to the past. Well, Treasure Hunt takes all the low-value boxes, like, maybe all those heal pots, or maybe all like those 2 gold chests in vanilla, and changes them to shards. And part of the randomizer just gives a random name to it. So the bigs that we're picking up, yeah, those are the shards that we're finding. So in order to complete the game tonight, we need to find a total of 36 bigs across the world in order to light the black orb and head back to the past to, do our Topher dive.
Oh, looks like we're getting another raid from Speed Gaming 3, raiding with a party of 86. So welcome all of you from Speed Gaming 3 to the Final Fantasy Randomizer Irongol Heavy Metal Championship.
This is where the party's at tonight.
Oh, absolutely.
Speaking of parties, Will's going to go party with Matoya and get the floater. That's a nice find for him because... like I said, I'm curious to see if and when Guda goes back and if he chooses to dig back down and check March Law.
Oh my heavens, yes. This changes a lot of things potentially, because not only, do we have to wonder, kind of similarly to what we were wondering before, if Guda was going to do his checks, which eventually he did come back and do those in Provoca. This, of course, also opens up a lot more entrances for Will to explore and perhaps find even more, potentially good things, but also even more potentially not so good things. It just really depends on the entrances.
Yeah, so, the nice things with Will is, he still hasn't checked quite as many entrances as Guda has, but getting this airship is going to let him get to those entrances and check them a lot quicker, and he won't have to worry about, canoes and docks and all that nonsense of walking across the land. He can just land there and walk in. Kind of helps out too because really at this point in the game, the only things the floater will give Will access to that Guda doesn't is going to be Gaia and Lefane. So depending on what lands in those 2 locations, that can be a huge advantage for Will.
Yeah.
Oh, also Sarda and Titan's West. So there's 4 entrances that Will can now get to that Guda can't.
Right. And also, for those of you just joining us, I am Karant. El Markin is my other comm. He is the veteran comm. I am the noobish comm. So,
You're perfectly fine. Don't sell yourself short, buddy.
Well, I am certainly new to the Irongol experience, and it is a grand time. Everybody here has been enjoying it very much, and I hope all of you joining us on Raid will enjoy it as well.
Yeah. I'm a little biased because, I run Irongol flags myself, but I think that's really where a lot of the fun with FFR comes in, because you can make some just totally off-the-wall flags and get someone else to run it with you and just have a total blast. I mean, we've seen flags like this where, bosses are scaled a little bit higher than you'd normally see in the tournament. Floor entrance shuffle on, which you're probably not going to see in a lot of standard tournaments. We've seen people come up with things like having a third party make the flags for them, so you're going into it completely blind. You have no idea what you're getting. We've seen any number of iterations of crazy flags, and I think they've all been fantastic to watch, and especially with the caliber of people playing them.
Oh, yes. Yeah, the runners who choose to run these Irongol flags are some of the best Final Fantasy Randomizer runners you will see. And it looks like Guda seems to be doing the same thing that WillBloodworth was doing earlier, and that is challenging Carrie to Mortal Kombat over and over and over again. And unfortunately failing over and over again.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think we've seen Carrie probably combined about 8 or 10 times now, and all Carrie knows how to do is punch. She has 0 skills, 0 spells. All she's doing is swinging with, those 6 arms that she has. I think that's how many she has. It's hard to tell.
Yeah,
she's swinging and she's doing some damage, so.
Yes, well, I had to make the reference because one of the movies that I watched during the quarantine period was Mortal Kombat and all of its cheesy 90s goodness.
Sometimes cheesy 90s goodness is just what everybody needs at any given time.
Oh, absolutely. So, unfortunately, Will discovers that those 5 treasure chests in Earth didn't hold terribly much for his pleasure.
Yeah, so I feel like the theme for this seed tonight, we've talked about it a couple of times. The theme's been really just, how bad can armor be? And the answer is really bad.
Oh, yes.
I think at one point in time, we've been running around with Pro Rings -3 because we're playing with the random weapon and armor bonuses, or the blurst flags as they're, affectionately called. I think the second highlight was about it. I'd say maybe around the hour and 5 mark, so only 10 minutes ago. We found a buckler +2, and I think that's been the second, actually the best piece of armor we've found across both runners so far this season. So
yeah, those whoever's making the armor for the Light Warriors has really, really been off the job. It's pretty pathetic, actually. We should speak to their union representatives.
Yeah, I think this is just punishing the runner. So all the plus gear that we've seen has been for fighters and knights is kind of exclusively. We've seen Opal +5 armor. We've seen I think that was just an Opal shield we saw a little bit ago. But we'll just never get to make use of it tonight, unfortunately. So it's kind of a make do with all this negative gear and hope for the best.
Yep. And it has to be a real tease for both of them when they see all the fighter knight armor that's just basically just vendor trash at this point. Meanwhile, I think Will is contemplating his options at the March split.
Yeah, I think you were talking about earlier, I think he's doing that pause to make notes. So he's noting that there's absolutely, I think there was 1 Biggs down there in the bottom of Earth 4, so he's probably making a note of that. Then he's making a note that there's the Marsh split. So he'll be happy to see the bottom one dead ends here.
Yeah. And of course, we know that the top Marsh split leads to the C split.
Mm-hmm.
So we know just how much fun he's about to find, but he has not found that just yet.
And speaking of fun, Guda's done having fun with Carrie. Besides, I'm going to take this dynamite, I'm going to visit some dwarves, and we're going to see what they've got for me.
Yeah, it's understandable. We've seen, of course, Will make the same life choices. It's unfortunate, but definitely understandable when you're looking at bosses being clamped up to 300%, and it seems as though certainly Carrie's offense was shot up to about 300%, given the strength of those punches.
Yeah, it absolutely felt like it. And it's one of those things too, it's with the shard hunt, killing Carrie and lighting her orb is only going to get you 2 shards. Those 2 shards are going to go towards, the 36 combined that you need to enter the Temple of Fiends Revisit to go back in time. Like we mentioned at the top end of the broadcast, every, I believe it was 8 shards that we have gives us an EXP bonus. So, hey, I think Will's currently at 18, so he's enjoying that second tier XP bonus right now. Trying to make his way towards the 3rd one, so he's actually right at the halfway mark for his shards.
Yeah, the EXP bonus, and we've, for those of you who came a little bit late or came in with the raids or whatnot, the runners both found a really good XP grind pretty much right at the beginning of the game, because Conaria Castle, which they could go to the town and be 2 steps away from it, held a 1-step encounter with a host of vampires off of the power cycle, off of just hard resetting the game. And that provided some really good experience for them to get very early on. And both of them, of course, took advantage of it. And so that has in large part helped them as they have continued onward.
Yeah, having that level 1 nuke there in Canaria 2 is really a huge boon for them because, like we mentioned, if it wasn't for that, this seed might be playing out very differently. But no, both runners taking that nuke, putting it to great use against those vampire packs, getting those early levels to kind of jumpstart their game, and it's been absolutely necessary from everything we've seen so far. Like, Magic has been abysmal between Elfland and Melmond. Really, I still think like nuke is like the highlight of our Magic tonight. So it's definitely been kind of a struggle, especially with all this negative armor that both of our runners have been finding.
Yeah, nuke level 1 really helped them in more ways than certainly any of us were aware at the beginning of the siege, just because of all the nastiness that they've run into as time has gone on. And one of our trackers pointing out, it looks like they are tied in the shards department. So the shard hunt is what they're doing to open up the Temple of Fiends at the end and eventually go on to beat the game. So given that they're tied in that aspect, one would presume that Will probably has a bit of a lead because he has more mobility. But that's really about it. Otherwise, the runners seem to be running pretty in concert with each other.
Yeah, and the biggest thing, too, that'll really dictate how big of his lead Will's going to be able to keep or maintain here is where Guda goes after he gets out of this Provoker location with the key. Mm-hmm. So we know that the crystal is loose down in the bottom of Marsh, which is located in the Canaria Castle entrance, if I'm remembering correctly. And that crystal, when brought to Matoya, turns into the floater. So that's where Will's at the moment. That's why he's been able to kind of zip around and do a little bit of catch-up on Guda. So if Guda happens to skip that play and maybe chooses to go take that canoe and those keys and maybe check other chests and other entrances, that might kick things back a little bit on him.
Yeah, that's one of the things that's really been exciting about this. I've said it a couple of times, so folks who've been in chat for a while, apologies of me repeating myself. But for folks who maybe haven't seen an Irongol before, this is to a fair degree what makes it exciting, because with the entrance shuffle and floor shuffle, you get all of these different crazy combinations of locations and where you find them, how you get to them, how deeply you have to go to get to them. And that, of course, that can lead to some very different tracks, some very different intentions as far as our runners go. And that's in large part what makes it exciting, is to see how all of that plays out. At least for now, it seems like Will's is playing out better, but of course that doesn't mean that's how it's going to remain.
Yeah, and kind of like we were mentioning, the airship isn't the make or break thing, at the moment. Like, it doesn't completely put Guda out of contention if he happens to skip, a couple of these checks. The biggest thing that it does, like we mentioned, it gives Will access to 4 other entrances over Guda, but it just really depends on what happens to randomly show up in those particular entrances. Mm-hmm. I don't believe that anything significant was over in like the Sarda or the Titan's West entrance. Like Sarda was Cardia Treasures, the Mirage or the Titan's West was a cube lock. So until we find cube, really it's not doing anything for Will aside from getting him some mobility.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Gouda was exploring the Temple of Fiends key locked chest, and I don't think he found particularly anything of importance. It didn't seem like it. I saw his first two pickups, and they didn't seem like anything big.
It looks like you got one shard out of it. So, I mean, hey, a shard's a shard, especially when you need 36 of them. So,
Sure.
if he can avoid having to kill either a really punch-happy Kraken, because that was the first thing we saw tonight, or a even more punch-happy carry, too, I think that'll be really exciting for. But, I mean, he's at least doing a check. So, I mean, he went back in, he checked the Temple of Fiends locked. He's currently heading back down to Marsh Cave, which is going to be Canaria Castle, so he'll be able to check those 6 boxes. It's not an why, so maybe he's just hoping something shows up loose. So it kind of makes me feel that if he is checking all these key locked places, I'm pretty sure he's got notes saying, hey, Marsh Bottom's over this way. And I expect him to probably check it before he leaves the area.
Yeah. Yeah, I would be very surprised if he did not check that. Oh, wow.
Ooh, 5, that's big.
Oh, yes.
And a vanilla gold bracelet, so it rolled no plus, no minus.
Yeah. Well, I mean, considering how bad the armor has been so far, I would consider that to be a win, A, because it's a gold bracelet, and B, because it's just a gold bracelet and not armored. Not with the armor jinx here.
Like -5.
Yeah, no kidding, right? Oh, heavens.
So, this white 5 shirt's a big pickup for Gouda. I anticipate will also eventually get it because he has yet to go down to this Marsh Cave entrance. But it's big because the party our runners are running with tonight, the Thief, Black Belt, Black Mage, was actually it was forced on them by the seed because they chose to go with whatever the seed gave them. They forced their 4 characters. So they had zero say or control over what character comp or what party comp they got to run with tonight. So the fact they found that white shirt, +5 we don't care about, but the fact that we now have an Invis 2 ability in the game definitely will make some of the later bosses a little bit more bearable. Might even make carry 2 a little bit doable if Gouda chooses to go back and try it out.
Yeah. It would certainly provide an extra layer of protection, so to speak. So, given that we've seen that both of the Fiends so far are very punch-happy, those could very well make a difference. It just depends on, well, how lucky you are in those Invis stacks and how well they protect, or at least how well it improves that evasion against a flurry of tentacles or arms or whatever the Fiend is throwing at them.
Yeah, if we choose to use it in challenge, which it doesn't look like Gouda is now, and unfortunately he's also sailing away from that bottom of Marsh Cave, so that's hopefully it pans out for him. We at least know where the crystal and the floater are at, so just hopefully he finds some other stuff down here on his adventures down south. To assuming he's probably going to go to check the Ordeal's location first, and then he'll probably go and check over to the on-rack area.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if you happen to use like the Invis 2 strats against like Carry and Kraken, it's going to just really come down to turn order. So you throw out your Invis 2 shirt. If Carry hits you first or Kraken hits you first, it's not going to matter. But, best case scenario, your Viz 2 goes out and Kraken doesn't hit your white shirt user for a round or two, and that'll probably really help make the fight a lot more easy for these runners.
Oh, yes. So we get to see a check of the old caravan over here on Gouda's side, and I don't believe we've seen the vendor item yet, have we?
No, I mean, the only towns we've seen to speak of so far have been, at least with item shops in it, were Canaria and Elfland, and neither one of them had an item to speak of in their shops.
Right.
So, Will's working his way back out of this Titan's East entrance. He found the marsh split, he found the sea split, and Gouda finding Bahamut there in the on-rack location. No tail, so we can't really make use of that quite yet.
And Will is making his way over to Marsh, which we of course know to be Canaria Castle. And since he comes bearing key in hand, he will be able to pillage those items, and so he will get his white shirt.
Yeah, and he'll also be able to go in there and talk to the king and the princess as well, because this is his first time in this location.
Right.
Unless he snuck in here earlier, and I think we both missed it, but I don't think he did. So.
Yeah, I don't believe he did. Also, we have an Excalibur -1 on Guda's side, which, again, is a little bit of a slap in the face from the fighters in the crowd who are sitting there going, "Why did you not choose us, you fools?"
Yeah, though, if we had a fighter, I'd still probably just keep that moss on him. So I don't know if that Excal's a huge loss at this point in time, but might sell for some money if we happen to come across a shop that's got some good stuff in it.
Yeah. I'm just more talking really from the combination of insults, I suppose.
True.
All the armors, and then suddenly, hi, you have an Excal, hello. And a Ruby, hello. So, since we know both entrances to Titan's Trove at this point, you have a number of ways to be able to turn that in and grab that incentivized item. So, it looks like Will is about to leave Marsh without possibly talking to the king and princess. Well, he's contemplating his life choices right now. And Gouda picking up another katana, so those thieves will definitely be well armed now.
Yeah, and I can't even really recall what the king and the princess gave us. So I'm curious I'm just kind of wondering if maybe Will snuck in there earlier and we just both kind of blinked and missed it while we were focusing on something Gouda was doing. Because it makes no sense to find Canaria Castle, loot the armory, and then never talk to the royalty.
Yeah.
Alright, Tracker's saying Urban Adamant, so that's why...
okay, so he did get it then.
Got it. Alright, it makes a lot more sense then. Speaking of Trackers, we have Kevin McLeod and DVS on the back tracking for us tonight, so thank you, gentlemen, for your assistance.
Yep, they're keeping us company and keeping us sane, which is very important, I think.
Absolutely. Sanity is definitely a thing to keep a track of, when you're... I don't know for you guys at least, but, here on the East Coast, once you're 12:30s.
Yeah, I'm Central Time, so it's not quite Monday yet, but close enough.
Yeah, nothing good happening on Monday. Just skip it.
Also, for folks joining us from Speed Gaming 4, the highlights of this are, let's see, Shard Hunt, for one. We have entrance and floor shuffle, which means any entrance can lead to virtually any other entrance or floor in the game. The bigs, by the way, are the shards that they're looking for. It's the name that the shards got randomized to. So if you see that on screen, they've picked up a shard. They need 36 of them to be able to enter the Temple of Fiends, go after Chaos, and win the game. You also have the Blessed and Cursed items, which means some of the weapons and armor can roll high or low. The armor is mostly low. So, all sorts of fun and insanity as WillBloodworth picks up a bottle from Astos. Oh, and Warmech is everywhere.
Yeah, we let Warmech out of his Sky Castle, and he's just replicated himself all over the planet so far.
Yeah, pretty much. I think we've seen Warmech just about every, well, at least I say every major location. He's definitely, he's getting around. He's racking up a lot of those frequent flyer miles.
Yeah, I think, thinking back so far, and clearly our memory's faulty because we totally missed Will talking to the royalty early on. But at least for me, I think the only place we haven't seen Warmech so far was on the sea. Like, we've seen him in dungeons, we've seen him on the overworld, we see the robot giving Gouda the tail, so I'll be curious to see if he makes his way back to Muhammad and class changes since he's right next to it. Or if maybe he holds off because of that black belt in his party.
And Will has discovered in one of the Cardia holes, he has found Provoca, so time to have ourselves some level 2 magic, finally.
This might be a huge find here. Let's see. Zapping fast, kind of really the thing, so...
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like... it's not going to make or break the run, but it's definitely going to help. So, we're running a forced party tonight, so the 2 thieves, the black belt, and the black mage. The nice thing is, if and when Will finds the tail and promotes, he can at least take those thieves, go and promote them to ninjas, and he can come back here, he can go pick up his nuke in level 1 in Canaria, he can pick up his fast gear in level 2. So at least there's some decent black magic early, but I think really fast and nuke is really like, highlight of it all so far. Ooh, Will finding a little bit of armor too. Procate +3, I think I saw in there.
Yes. Yeah, I think that was the big highlight, especially for those mages. Of course, we know now that Gouda has his tail, so we've got at least a hint as to the location, which sounded ironic. He found it in Waterfall, which was actually once removed in Waterfall.
Rando gonna rando, but yeah, nice to see something at least familiar to the vanilla game for our runners tonight.
Yeah, a little bit.
So Gouda checking out, see if he can find a decent pack of the little metal slimes over here, getting some maybe a little bit of a better EXP fight compared to the vampires. They got cremate though, so I think I'd probably nope out after a one shot here.
Yeah, I would say if nothing else, nope out, and if you're committed to trying to pursue this, nope out, heal up, and get spell charges back if need be, and then take it from there. It looks like he's... yeah, it looks like he is going to continue this a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm a huge fan at this point. I mean, we've seen, the vampires right off the bat, but I think I know why he's doing it. He's trying to get levels on that black belt. He doesn't want to promote the black belt early.
Yeah.
And lose out on that. So it makes sense why he's doing it. It's just one of those things where you got to hope that nuke rolls high and you can kill him in one round, because it always makes you a little bit nervous when you start seeing mobs with a spell list along with a decent skill list there.
Right. And WillBloodworth found the vendor item at last. It was the Oxy Ale located in Provoca, and so he has picked it up, and now he's going to challenge some potentially very unsafe pirates. I don't know if unsafe pirates was turned on, but he's not taking any chances, that's for sure.
Yeah, they're on, but we'll never get to see it because there's nuke going out. Very well timed on his.
Oh yes. And we're going to be playing some music, it looks like.
Yeah, so, vital items being found here for Will. We both have the key already, but, because we're still doing the vanilla long Topher, we still need that loot to progress, so definitely an endgame pickup here. So, depending on where the shards fall, I mean, Will's in a decent position at this point. So.
Yeah. And, of course, now he's discovered the ice cavern, which you mentioned, of course, that those holes, the hole entrances are linked all together to prevent things from getting, well, too crazy, I suppose, on that front, at least for now. So we'll be able to see some items here, and I believe Ice Cave is incentivized, if I remember correctly.
That is right.
Okay.
You did correctly. It is incentive tonight, so.
All right. So yeah, we can see that too, and it's difficult to say whether it's going to be terribly necessary, but it's still worth seeing.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a lot of the progression items here, but we haven't seen a lot of the gear. Like, we haven't seen an opal bracelet, we haven't seen a Thor hammer, we haven't seen we haven't seen our gauntlet yet. So I mean, odds are kind of shifting towards him most likely digging some gear out of this particular dungeon, but I don't think there's really anything there that you'd hate to see at this point, aside from maybe like the Thor hammer.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say the Thor hammer would be a disappointment, but everything else definitely has a place, especially, I mean, I would kind of lean primarily toward Ribbon and Power Bonk. Power Bonk, obviously, for the black belt, and Ribbon for, well, everybody else, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
Meanwhile, Gouda has grown up, and so now he can enjoy being an adult like the rest of us, and he is reallocating his equipment accordingly.
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing about promoting is, even though it's like, heavily cursed, like that flame -5, at least it's something. It's better than running around with nothing on that in the for the ninja.
Right.
But I feel like he's probably just going to commit to the 3-man, so I don't even think he's going to put gear on that second ninja at this point.
Yeah.
And Will kind of weighing his odds here. He had that Gurmadusa pack. I was thinking maybe he was considering grinding it for a little bit, but it looks like he's just going to move.
Yeah. I mean, that's what chat was, Magius was mentioning in chat, that's a good grind tile, and it definitely is, especially given all the caster equipment that we have, because apparently there have been entire factories that were printing black shirts earlier, because we've seen at least 3 of them. And, oh, well, better tile.
Absolutely better tile. Huge find here for Will. This is definitely where you want to park for a little bit here.
Oh, yes.
I think so if I'm Will in this situation, right, and I found this tile down here in the bottom ice cave, and we're really only like 1 or 2 floors removed from the top entrance. Once I get my thieves maybe to like 23-ish, I'm probably gonna try and kill them off in like the ice lava that's on this floor, and just go there with just the black belt and the black wizard, depending on what is below the ice cave floor.
Yeah.
Well, no, I take it back, because this should just kick us right out, so.
Yeah, it seems... It looks like that might be what he'll end up doing, but at least for now, he's content to dig boxes and see what all he can discover here. I believe he is up to the low 20s in terms of his shards, because we got a good long look at his shard menu earlier while he was contemplating life choices. So he's about 22, 23 now.
And, get rid of this Zombo pack so we can see what's in the incentive box here in Ice Cave.
Right.
You're finding the Volcano Armory floor over there in the Ordeals location, and I believe it was the Fire Elemental vanilla tile had Badman with Lit 3, so
oh god.
Definitely be avoiding that spike tiles when you navigate around on this floor and open some boxes here.
Yeah, I would be steering very clear of that as well. That's just a nightmare on basically any sort of enhancement drug you wish to substitute in that sentence.
Defense -2, so not a terrible pickup. Not going to be swinging it, but combined with that white shirt that both our runners have, that'd be a nice, quick way to make someone melee immune.
Oh
and,
yeah, absolutely.
2 of our feet are being snack happy, so it'll help out with those 2.
Yeah, I was actually just about to say that makes the carry and Kraken fights much, much more approachable.
Second white shirt, wow.
I was about to say! We're suddenly seeing an embarrassment of riches, kind of on both sides.
So I guess it's just, you had to survive the front half to get the really good back half seed.
Well, I mean, we do look at this as sort of a more endurance-based competition, so, I mean, it does make sense.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, when you first look at the flags that our runners are running tonight, it doesn't seem terrible. But, rando gonna rando, what might make for a really abysmal flag one week might make for a really fantastic flag the next week. And this is just, I think, one of those times where I think our runners ran the same exact flag set a couple weeks back, like we mentioned, because, this is like the 3rd match they've had. The first one was a while back between the 2 of our runners. They decided to kind of bring their competition, their rivalry back to life with their recent match. And, they decided, hey, one just match up every now and then is not enough. Let's make it a regular thing. So here we are for the 3rd one. But it was the same flags I ran a couple weeks ago, like I was saying, and it wasn't anywhere near this atrocious for either of our runners. Like, they were, I think they were nearing the end time right around the 2-hour mark. So definitely a bit more on the hateful side this week for this particular flags they're running.
Oh, yes. Ah, and I see a Sharknado on Will's side, so I'll be curious to see if he goes for... Oh, yeah, he's going to go make his rounds and find Warmech waiting for him yet again. Holy mackerel.
Warmech's like, you thought you were safe. You thought wrong.
And speaking of Warmech, Guda finds him.
So I'm just going to say that apparently Warmech has teleportation capabilities, because he went from Sea Shrine to Titan's Tunnel in about, I don't know, a 2-second window.
Yeah, something like that.
So there's a rod. Now, we haven't seen the vampire floor of Earth yet, so it doesn't really do us a lot for progression, but at least it helps keep us from getting blocked if and when we find that particular.
Right. Yeah, and that's obviously one of the things about an Irongol with an entrance and floor shuffle is those progression items, like you mentioned earlier, they can potentially be still necessary, but sometimes they won't be, depending on how all that shakes out. Meanwhile, I think Guda is taking a moment to just maybe relax a little bit. Hello, Bridge of Destiny. And
Here you go.
contemplate maybe his next options, because I imagine a seed like this would be very, very draining on runners to try to keep track of everything and make sure that everything's good to go. So you can understand taking a little bit of a quick sabbatical like this.
Yeah, I can't fault him at all. I had to step away for a few minutes earlier myself, and I'm not even running the seed, so...
Yeah. Well, hey, and also I imagine it's late for everybody, so you're also fighting a bit of actual fatigue, or physical fatigue and mental fatigue as well. So yeah, it's understandable if you need to step away and refresh yourself and stretch, relax, maybe grab a little, something to drink or what have you.
Yeah, I mean, and sometimes too, when you're sitting there staring at the screen and staring at whatever you're using to track, things can kind of start blurring together, running together. Maybe stepping away and coming back, and kind of gives you a fresh set of eyes, so you can look at it and say, like, oh man, I can't believe I skipped going back to this particular location, or wow, I can't believe I never went to this entrance earlier. I should have gone here a long time ago.
Yeah.
So it's nice, maybe that'll help you out here.
Yeah. Dwight mentions good as grabbing a beer. Well, I mean, considering how much Warmeg has showed up to spoil the party, maybe so. I mean, I have to imagine this would be a seed that would drive people to drinking, methinks.
Yeah, I'd probably have to agree with that. Especially because, so if you're in Gouda shoes, you've cleared everything you have access to with the exception of the Mirage entrance. And that's a lot to bank on one entrance, to where that's where you've got to find progression. So that's clearly where he's going. But after this, you're going to have to start wondering if you're good. Like, all right, what have I missed? Like, what was something I went back to? What was something I skipped? And that's, I hate to bring it up for the third time, but this is where you really have to, like you mentioned earlier, Trump, like, rely on those notes you're taking for entrance floor shuffle. Like, where are all, like, the locked boxes at when you find a particular floor? Where are the... maybe the C splits or the marsh splits or whatever. Have I found those, and where can I go back to them at?
Yeah. WillBloodworth is taking on Tiamat, and he is putting those white shirts to very good effect. And it looks like, well, Tiamat seems to be kind of punch happy too, just not quite as strong necessarily, or perhaps it's simply better levels or better equipment, but doesn't seem to be quite as impactful.
White shirt's doing a lot of work.
Yeah.
So Guda's taken a minute. So he's found Honorak in the Mirage entrance, and he doesn't have Oxyel, so he knows there's no progression there for him. So he's sitting there staring at his equipment menu a second ago, trying to figure out what the heck he's missing, because clearly there's some piece of the puzzle he hasn't quite gotten yet.
Yeah. And of course, again, given how entrance and floor shuffle goes, it's definitely understandable that you can turn around and kind of go, okay, so how many times have I spun myself around this, and what has perhaps slipped between the cracks?
Yeah, and that's, that's where notes are so vital.
Yeah.
Interesting thing, so watching the WillBloodworth fight with his Tier 1, I know he's got a couple of skills. I don't think he's got any spells, but two of his characters are muted, so I'm pretty sure that Tier 1's got, like, silence touch or mute touch, whatever you want to call it. And by him hitting the thief that had the white shirt, we couldn't get out all those invis casts with it.
Yeah, it seems to be serving Will well enough so far, because Tiamat has failed to clock him, but yeah, there you go.
I think Will actually had him in a crit loop.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Because we kept getting the 9 hits for 146, and all Tia was doing was punching, so that, you don't see it often, but it's really nice to see it, and as a runner, you've got to be glad when it comes up at exactly the right time.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that would be another one of those aspects of the game that, honestly, I know very little about. or at least how to kind of make that happen.
Yeah, so it's not something you can make happen.
Okay.
My understanding of it is this. So, the first thing to keep in mind when trying to set it up, as we look at even worse armor here in the armor shop. Wow, there's nothing in this seed for armor. It's terrible. So with doing the crit loops, it's entirely based on this RNG. So the first part of it is that when you're doing a fight with a boss, they have a 50% chance to target whoever's in your first slot, 25 for the second, and then the 12.5 for the third and the fourth. So that's why a lot of the runners you see during these races, they will put their big melee person in that third slot. So it kind of minimizes the number of times or the percent chance of the boss hitting that particular person. But when it comes down to just one character standing, if they're in that third slot, my understanding of the way the RNG loop works, and I'm sure chat can correct me if I'm wrong, is when you're holding down the A button during the fights, it forces the same frame to keep happening, and combined with the fact that the enemy has to retarget, it forces them back to a particular attack. So that's why we were seeing Tiamat 1 only attacking Will, and then because the same frame is happening, it's triggering the same RNG, and that's why he was hitting him for the 9 hits for the 146 crit every single time. It's running that same RNG. It's a loop every single time the fight happens, or each round of the battle happens.
Okay. So while that discussion was going on, and thank you for all that info, Guda has taken down Warmac.
First one at the hour 48 mark. That's going to be a moral victory.
Oh goodness, yes. And WillBloodworth has found Crescent Lake, and I believe he's still looking around all the Cardia entrances.
Yeah, I believe this was down in the Cardia Forest entrance. Finally finding Warp at level 6.
Oh boy.
But still not finding any good armor. I think armor here was just as bad as every other town.
Surprise!
Mild shock. And Guda's doing the play. He's back in Marsh, so he's going to go check these locked boxes. He'll find his crystal. Sage is holding that Opal -4 bracelet tonight.
And it's also worth noting that the fairy in the bottle in Gaia had the slab.
Yeah, so we haven't seen Lefane yet, but I don't believe we've seen Will land in either the Gaia or the vanilla Lefane spot, so I'm assuming that's where Lefane's going to be at. Guda finds his crystal. Happy days.
Yeah. Well, we know how happy they will be. He does not quite yet. But...
I mean, I think he's got it pretty much figured out. The only thing can be is so in Guda's head, crystal's either going to lead to the Oxyale, and there will be something in the Oxyale dungeon that's going to give him progression to the floater, or it's going to turn into another thing for like the herb turn-in, because I don't think we've seen Elfland yet either. But it's going to have to lead to something. He just doesn't know quite what just yet, but he'll find out very soon, and he'll be very happy to see it's the floater.
Yeah.
So it looks like Will, I think he's up to 28 shards at the moment, if I caught his menu real quick there.
Yeah.
Accurately, so he's 8 away, so he's kind of, finishing up here.
Right.
So something to keep in mind. So he's seen, I don't know if Will's ever checked the Matoya entrance, so I don't know if he's seen Kraken or not. I know he knows Ricaria, so there's at least 2 orbs down for him. I was off by 1, so 27 orbs or shards for Will.
Right.
So there's, like we mentioned earlier, the Lich kill and the carry kill, when you light those orbs, that's good for 2. Kraken and Tia is good for 4. He's already got Tia off the table, so there's 4 orbs there, but he's pretty close to really only needing to find 1 loose shard left in this particular seed, and then killing the original 3 fiends, and he'll be in go mode at that point, because he's already got the loot and the key, and the rest of the stuff he doesn't really necessarily need, so...
Yeah. So yeah, Tracker's pointing out that the volcano was Elfland Town, but then the question is, have we seen Elfland Castle? And I don't believe we have.
No, I don't believe we have either. So we haven't seen Lefane, we haven't seen Elfland Castle, And I'm sure we haven't seen some of the dungeon floors yet either. Like, I don't know if I've seen the volcano floor. That's pretty much all the lava tiles. So I think that'll probably lead to wherever Elfland Castle is.
Yeah. And now Gouda finally gets his floater, and I'm sure he is feeling very good about that right now.
Probably a mix of very good and very behind. And,
Yeah.
You know, when you're at the hour and 52-minute mark and just getting in the air, the first thing you're thinking is, oh man, how long has my opponent been in the air for?
Yeah.
And because he parked his boat way up here at Montoya's, he's got to take the scenic route back over to get his airship.
Oh dear.
So heading down, we know Will's going to find, when he makes it down another floor, he'll find the waterfall, and he'll get his tail from the waterfall. I don't recall there being any shards down there. I think there may have just been one, if any, in those 6 robot boxes, but I'm pretty sure he'll most likely be class changing as soon as he picks it up here, since he's right next to Muhammad in the on-rack location. I'm sure he's going to want to prioritize getting some levels on those ninjas to, get a couple more nuke casts going.
Right. Yeah, that makes perfect sense, really.
Yeah, and then we'll see where Gouda goes first, now that he's unearthed his airship here.
Yeah, looks like... I would say, I was going to say, he's probably heading for Sarda, and he is. So, okay, yeah, I was about to say, it looked for a second like Will was walking out of waterfall before proceeding, but he was just stashing his treasures, and now he's back in.
I like how Will's been really diligent about doing that the entire time. Like, he'll dig out a floor or two, and then depending on how long the floor was, he'll either scoot back and save, or he'll go down and check the next floor real quick. But it's been really smart because, with these seeds, we haven't seen a ribbon yet. So really, any elemental spells or status spells like, stone, can really ruin your day. But he's been really diligent, so he hasn't really lost anything. Like, he hasn't been deep in a dungeon and taken a wipe. Like, we've seen Gouda, unfortunately, have that happen to him a couple times when he was diving out the Titan's East location, which had the Martian sea splits. But Will hasn't really had that happen. That's kind of why Will's got a bit of a shard lead at the moment. Not only did he get the floater early, but he's never taken those big wipes, and he never really lost any progress. So it's been really good for his advantage tonight.
And Dot Warner asking, how did the racers choose their party? They let the seed choose, essentially. Fighters, I believe I think fighters were officially off the table, and I think they took white mages completely off the table. And then the seed gave them fun times.
Yeah, the fighters and the red mages are off the table.
Oh, fighters and red, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine. But unfortunately, the seed just said, "Yup, you're not getting any white magic. Sorry about your luck." Because they had two at least chances to roll a white mage, and we didn't get one either.
Right.
So Will making good use of that warp cell now that he finally found it, buried in the Crescent Lake location.
Yeah. Well, hey, I mean, better late than never, especially in an entrance floor shuffle. Well, I mean, warp has importance throughout, so it's definitely a reassuring find. It looks like we're going to go get our vanilla Gaia and Lethane checks, I think, at this point.
Yeah. And worth noting, too, that Will didn't promote when he was standing there. Here's the fame, but I don't think we've been back to Melman to translate the slab yet.
No, not yet.
So that means something is going to be between the Lethane entrance, and that'll eventually lead us down to Elfland Castle for the Earth.
Yeah. So, Dot Warner, how this works is whenever you start up a seed, then there will be sort of a default listing of party members, and that depends on how you set your party choices in the randomizer. So they had the different classes available to them, but the game essentially defaulted them to the 4 classes that they ended up taking with them.
Yeah, and not only that, on the site that they're using, you can force the party members. So what happens is when the force happens, it says, you can tell it, hey, I want this one particular slot to be any of the 6 classes. You can check or uncheck them. And then when you say, I want to force it, the game is telling you, okay, well, you gave me a choice of 4. I picked this one for this particular slot. And the runners can't change it even if they wanted to.
So in this case, it's given them a very interesting party, particularly with the thieves, which thieves are good for running, and at least when they're still thieves, that's kind of about it. But both groups have been able to run very well. Both runners have made very good use of the party members they have, so it's definitely a testament to both Will's and Guda's skill at this game, that they're able to make sort of lemonade out of the lemons that they were given to some degree.
Oh, they definitely got lemons in a lot of places tonight.
Mm-hmm. Especially virtually every piece of armor.
Except for the buckler.
Well, I mean, now we've got pro capes +3 and silvers +3, so there's a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not the train coming at them for a change.
It still might be. Let's not hold our breath there.
Well, maybe at least they have a little bit of room to flatten themselves against the wall to sort of avoid the train.
Yeah, true. So since we're coming up on it here, I say soon, as Will's doing his T-Rex grind or Tyro grind over there, and Guda's digging through the Sharknado floor. So with the particular flags that our runners are running tonight, as I try to scroll up to them real quick so I can read it off exactly. Excuse me. They've got randomized treasures on. They also have an incentivized ribbon. So worst case scenario, they only have 1 ribbon. Best case scenario, they have 2, 3, maybe 4. Bad thing is we've cleared, I'd say, like 90% of the game so far, and we have yet to see 1.
Right.
So,
I was about to say that myself.
Yeah, so combine that with long Topher and 300% clamps. Topher, depending on how things roll, may or may not be super friendly. So I kind of like Will's plan here. I think he's coming to realize, like, maybe things aren't going to be all, roses and smiley faces and rainbows when he gets to Topher without any life magic. So he's definitely probably setting up that black belt to go up to 50 as ASAP, so he can go back to OnRack and promote.
Yeah, I think they're both in their own ways preparing for the idea that Topher is going to be utterly nasty, which is definitely understandable given what we've all seen so far. So now it looks like Will's black belt grind is very much in effect. He has all of his other party members down, and it's time to send that black belt off to the races.
Yeah, and he's got a sandwich station with those sandworms, so right off the power reset, really nice tile, or really nice fight, I should say, because it's not really on a tile. Just to do that solo grind at, he's doing it late with a lot of shards. The only thing that can make it go a little bit quicker is if he had, I think it's 5 more shards for his last EXP bonus. But when you're getting 7,000 XP for 1 sandworm and 14,000 for 2 for very little effort, I don't think it's worth waiting. I like what Will's doing here. Just go ahead and do it while you can. I'm sure he'll promote. He'll get his ninjas up. He'll probably take a couple quick levels to get some nuke charges, and we'll have 3 nuke casters and a very punchy black belt going into Topher here soon.
Yeah. How far do you think Will takes it for the black belt?
Bare minimum 42. With the EXP, though, I don't think it would take a whole lot of extra time to take it right to 50.
Yeah.
And I think that'd probably be the smart play at this point. We're dealing with 300% clamps.
Yeah.
I don't believe we've seen lock anywhere in the black shops that I've at least noticed, which makes me feel like it's either probably going to be like a level 7 or 8 spell. And that means that he's going to A, have to promote, and B, he'll also have to go through and make sure his black mage has sufficient casts of it.
Yeah.
So Tracker's saying block 2 is at level 6, so that makes it a lot better, than being something locked at level 8. So
Yeah.
thanks DVS for that.
And it looks like Guda is starting to grab his magic for his ninjas over in Provoca, which obviously especially having that fast at level 2 is pretty fantastic to have.
Yeah, that'll help. So you can focus your, Black Mage can use Temper, your ninjas can use Fast. I don't think we had I think we may have actually had Saber early as well, so that's something to maybe go back and check as well. Find out where Saber landed and see if it's ninja learnable. Because I feel like it was at level 3 or 4 in Elfland.
Yeah, let's see. I'm going to page up and see if we can find the magic here. Let's see. I am seeing... Interesting. I don't know if I am seeing Saber. I mean, maybe I missed it, but... Okay, so the tracker's saying Saber's at level 7 in Gaia, so...
Alright, so scratch that plan then.
Yeah, exactly. Alright, so it looks like Will's taking it up to at least, I think he's at 38 right now. So yeah, it's looking like at least 42. And you mentioned possibly all the way to 50. Obviously we'll see. It would be a good opportunity because, yeah, those sandworms are giving out very good experience for, as you mentioned, very little effort.
Yeah, and when it's, when you're sitting there rocking, he still has like almost 60, I think, save items between the cabins and the houses.
Right.
I didn't see if he had hints in there, but, when it's one step off the power cycle, that's a great find for a solo grind. Far better than anything we've seen.
Yeah.
A lot less dangerous, too. Like, the only other good grind we saw was going to be the 3-eye tile down here where Guda's at in Ice Cave if he checks that bottom left room.
Yeah.
So that's a really nice one, but again, you've got to worry about getting down there and getting out. At least here when you're doing this on the overworld, as soon as you're done, you pop in your airship and you leave. You don't have to worry about all these other random fights in between you and the exit.
Right.
I mean, Guda's doing pretty well, though, with his levels. I think I just saw 2 of his characters hit 30 and 31.
Yeah.
So his levels aren't really lagging behind. I know that, I think one of Will's thieves, at least, is really low. I saw one thief was 25, his Black Mage was 28. I missed what his other thief was. I'll check here in a second.
Yeah. I just saw the 28, so... But yeah, definitely Guda is... There's no way you can say that Guda is playing badly at all. It's just... Will has chosen to focus on the black belt grind right now, and Guda, because he was a little bit behind in regards to getting the floater and exploring, he's still in the exploring stage, and now that he's found his eye grind, we'll see if he chooses to make more use of it than Will did, because Will just took it once and then went his merry way. And it looks like Guda is going to use the eye grind to his benefit.
Yeah, they don't seem to have anything. I believe that Guda was able to pick up Warp when he was in the Crescent Lake area anyways. Not that he really needs it to get out of here in Ice Cave, because he still wants to, I'm sure he'll still want to check that bottom floor, just in case there's any shards down there, or maybe, that loose ribbon, since it's kind of eluding us tonight.
Right. It looks like Will went up to, I believe, 48 with his black belt grind. I think that's the number I saw. It was kind of hard to tell.
Yeah, and if you didn't even go to 50, it's a fun stopping point at 48, just because, you'll still be taking fights. You'll still get some more levels on the black belt, so you'll still cap them out.
Yeah, sure.
And it doesn't redistribute EXP anyways. Some games when somebody's level capped, the EXP they're no longer getting gets divvied out. It's not the case here. They still eat the EXP. So he still knows he'll get a level cap guy out of this at the end anyways.
Yeah, exactly. So now he's promoted, and now he can obviously get the charges for those ninjas and be able to make it a little bit more of an even level distribution at this point. But of course, he's got to escape first to do that.
Yeah, I mean, escaping's easy when everything's running away from you.
Yeah, fair, true. And of course, that's one of the benefits of pushing that black belt so high is suddenly people see Bruce Lee walking up to him. They're not going to fight him very often unless they're getting paid to.
Even then, I think it wouldn't be done willingly.
I guess it depends on how much you're getting paid for it.
Yeah, true. Better be a lot of zeros in there.
Yeah. Alright, so it looks like Will is heading back to get himself all refreshed and stocked back up, and so Guda is taking that 3-eye grind, well, eye grind I should say, not all 3 of them obliging at once necessarily, but it looks like, let's see what levels he comes out with here, and so he is, yeah, looking like he's in the mid-30s, so it's obviously both of them grinding, but grinding a bit differently, of course, which is obviously their prerogative.
Yeah, I kind of like Guda's play of doing the 3-man. I mean, we've only seen the 1 katana, we've seen a Masa. So that's kind of like having that second endgame sword. It's kind of really like the only good part about having maybe that second ninja alive.
Yeah.
I fully expect him to maybe bring him back up before a Topher dive, though, just because, hey, that's one more meat shield you can hit, or maybe you can buy yourself a round and keep the combat going and maybe keep the fight or the damage off of like your black belt or your higher level ninja. But I like it because it's concentrating the EXP on those 3, and you still have a very capable damage dealer in that ninja with the Masa. You have that nuke/temper backup on the black mage, and obviously you've got the pain train himself, the black belt. So
yeah, I think a slight, I would say, I guess, correction. I think we've seen 2 katanas, but I would very deeply hesitate to say that either runner has both of them. I think each of them just has 1.
Gotcha, yeah. I know we saw one early in the, I think it was the Provoca entrance where they found the Sky 1 floor. Because that was the one that had both the katana and the Masa on it.
Yeah.
I just can't recall if they found that second one, but
yeah,
even with the second one.
Yeah, it doesn't really change the decisions too much.
No, because with the Thief with the katana, there's a lot of crit coming, especially with the 300% scaling. You may have a boss who rolls 240 agility, so the only way to hit him is either to crit him or to, spend some rounds using lock, but every round you're missing him and he's using lock is a round you're letting them swing at you or nuke you or punch you or whatever they're going to do to you, and without life that can end disastrously potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, so chat pointing out, yeah, you saw something I missed, since Will does have the 2 katanas, so I mean, nice there, 2 katanas, maybe keep the Moss on the Black Mage if you're really wanting a 4th melee character. Will going down to Kraken.
Alright, so it looks like he's on the path to resolving the rest of those orbs, because he doesn't have, or the shards rather, because he doesn't have all that many left.
Yeah, so he'll crack and he'll get 4. He still needs a total of 7. So after Kraken's down, he'll still need 3. He knows where Carry is at, so that'll give him another 2. He just has to then find one more loose one, and he'll be set. So, and Guda's probably pretty much in the same boat. He also only needs 7. So both runners pretty much neck and neck with regards to the shard count here.
Yeah, I think I saw that. Yeah, it looks like Will actually needs 9.
Oh, is it 9? Okay.
Yeah. So now Guda grabbing his bottle from Astos and going to then proceed to smack him to death.
And this Kraken fight going a lot differently for Will than it did earlier in the seed. About an hour and 45 minutes ago when we first found.
Yeah, exactly.
So those multiple white shirts definitely getting a lot of use in. Those are going to be the really vital, I feel, for clearing this Topher, depending on how these fiends roll.
Yeah. It also helps when your black belt can punch for about 2,000 damage. Good grief.
Oh, absolutely. All right, so 5 to go for Will.
Mm-hmm.
Neither runner really wanting to go and do the long, drawn-out walk to Lefane and back quite yet. We'll see if anybody ever pulls the trigger on it.
Well, looks like Will is heading back down to visit some vengeance upon Carrie. Which,
yeah, I feel like this fight's going to go a lot differently than his earlier 4 attempts as well. Kind of a repeated motif here. Hey, it's a lot different when you have a 48 punch man and a couple Invis 2 casters with you. Good start of living in the submarine.
Yep. We all live in a Sarda submarine.
Thorn -5. Yeah, that's a reset.
Yeah. God, speaking of slaps to the face. Holy Moses.
So I fully expect Gouda to at some point make his way back down to Crescent, which is Melmond, translate his slab. I feel he'll go back to Gaia, turn that in. I expect him to actually make the walk to Lefane, because I know he knows that Ribbon is incentivized, and I also know that he knows he doesn't have any quite yet. So I feel confident in saying he's probably going to make his trek down there and hope that maybe the herb turns into the Ribbon from the Elf Prince.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the Carrie fight did go much better for Will. He has taken Carrie down, and it seems looks like Gouda's trying to visit his revenge as well.
Yeah, I can't blame them. I mean, they're both really just kind of trying to put the last pieces of the seed together, get the last couple shards, and then see what Topher's got in store. And that might be just as much fun as the front half of the seed has been. So.
Oh boy, wouldn't it be, though?
So Will's going to go check out the submarine. Get his bad news about that Thor -5 hammer.
Yep. But not before engaging in Brack strats, apparently.
I mean, hey, sometimes you need a Hail Mary play, and sometimes Brack is it, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that was a marginally different carry fight for both our runners.
Yeah, just a smidge. Also, looks like Will is going to keep his Thor hammer -5, so...
So Gouda begrudgingly resets out, and Will's just like, I walked down here, I guess I'll take it.
Yeah. And looks like Will be the first one to go to Vanilla Lefane, and we shall... Like you mentioned, I think the main goal for them is the Ribbon right now.
Yeah, so... some things we haven't seen, just trying to keep mental track of this has been exciting. I don't think we've seen any of our runners. I don't think either one has found the cube yet. But we haven't seen what's past the cube block, which I believe was over in Titans West, if I remember correctly. We also haven't seen what's past the vampire floor, but I don't think we've even seen the vampire floor yet. So that's either going to be behind the cube block or it's going to be here in Lefane for where Will's at.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't believe we have seen the vampire floor. And if that ends up becoming important, well, Gouda has the rod and Will does not yet, so that could play a role. Possibly.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I would definitely feel a lot more comfortable doing a Topher if I at least had, there's a ribbon for Will. Ribbon -5.
Oh, God. The theme continues. Armor is overrated. It's official.
And so here's the big fun thing. So when you incentivize a ribbon and you're playing with loose items, how do you know if that ribbon that you have is the incentive one or not? You really don't unless you check every single chest and every single NPC. So for all we know, that ribbon -5 is the only one in the pool because we do have the randomized treasures on, like we mentioned. For all we know, maybe there's more than one ribbon -5, but ribbon -5 is hate to see it.
Yeah. Another one. Wow. Oh my goodness. So apparently they were all hiding in Carrie Land.
Oh my.
Also, we welcome the Raiders from Zardia's channel. Zardia, we've had quite the time so far. The Final Fantasy Randomizer Irongol Heavy Metal Championship has certainly not failed to deliver the insanity tonight, with a entrance and floor shuffle that has tossed everything all over the place, and the blessed and cursed being very cursed in the case of armor, as the presence of both of those ribbon -5s should pretty well indicate in about 5 seconds flat.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is going to go down as a really exciting seed if you really hate any kind of pluses on your armor. I'm just saying. Ooh, Guda finding his last shard, so he's set.
Oh, and I was going to say, Will is pretty close to finding his last shard as well, so this is kind of going to be neck and neck. I'm curious to see if those 2 ribbons that Will just picked up, I wonder if those end up making it any sort of a big difference in this. And yeah, Will has finished his shard hunt as well.
Yeah, I'd have to assume it's going to make a big difference. You know, you have some elemental defense on at least your ninjas by way of like the ice shield and the flame armor, but everyone else is kind of just left out there to dry.
Yeah.
So I'd say that even though levels are fairly comparable, Will's got a little bit more levels on his black belt than Guda does, but I think Guda's ninjas are in a better spot. I'd say those 2 ribbons are a huge advantage for Will going to Topher, assuming we see the general Topher nastiness.
Yeah.
Guda's never going to see LaFane either. He's burning off cabins, he's burning off houses, he's ready to dive. He knows where Temple of Fiends is at. It's in the Elfland Castle spot, and he's going to give us our first look at Topher here at the 2 hour, 18 minute, we'll just call it 40-second mark.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, Will's not going to be very far behind because, of course, he's got all of his orbs, or all of his shards ready to go. So, Guda pushing through, and looks like I was going to say he was doing a pretty good hero run, and that hero run got interrupted for a short time by the ultimate anti-hero.
I don't know, I feel like he's a cult hero at this point.
Fair.
But, yeah, Topher's normally nasty. You throw in an Unleashed War Mech, and he can pop up any of these floors. That takes the some of the floors and some of the danger when you don't have a ribbon from, 8 till maybe about, 11 out of 10. Yeah. If you see nastiness down here, it's just going to spell disaster.
Yeah.
Sorry, Guda. I feel like a commentator cursed you.
I was going to say, yeah, Warmech taking up residence on all the floors of Topher, apparently. Or at the very least, he is exhibiting those teleporter abilities to the nth degree.
Yeah, he's definitely putting on a exhibition here.
Yeah.
Do you need to keep light warriors away from your boss? Hire a Warmech Warp 30. And Warmech apparently hates ninjas because the first Warmech knocked out AAAA, and this recent Warmech took a big shot at Will there in the back.
Oh dear, yeah. So, does that mean Warmech is Shredder?
I think that's probably canon now.
That's a third
Will is on fire with ribbon -5s.
Oh my gosh.
Does he check the other one? Oh, it's a silver +5. Okay. I was hoping for a 4th ribbon -5 where there's 2 in the validation chest just to rub it in.
Oh my gosh. And it's worth noting that Guda has none of them because he did not check LaFane and he did not check the validation chest, so... Oh boy.
Yeah, so something else to point out too. Because, Blur's weapon, it's currently... Okay, let me backtrack. Because the random armor and weapon bonus flags are only on the beta site right now, there's still some uncertainty across the community how things work. So, in vanilla, Ribbon just has 1 absorb. When it rolls -5, it can't go down to 0 absorb. It stays at 1 absorb, but it still gets an evasion penalty. So all its regular elemental defenses stay the same. it weighs more somehow. Maybe it's like made out of like mithril or titanium or something. But yeah, still gives you just the one absorb. It doesn't take you negative and take away absorb from your other pieces of gear.
So Lich had nuclear apparently, and Gouda has wiped through Lich and Carry so far. So it's really a race for the finish. This is turning out to be quite the showstopper here at the end, which is no surprise whatsoever given the quality of these runners.
Yeah, and the thing you're really just hoping for now is that maybe these mobs don't, or not the mobs rather, but the Topher Fiends don't take advantage of that 300% clamp. Like, you just want it to be squishy after like 2.5 hours nearing.
Yeah, from what I've seen so far, it doesn't really feel like.
Ah, there we go.
In chat mentioning Kraken opening up with Swirl, so oh boy.
Yeah, and that ninja missed, but the black belt, or master I should say, made up for it, so doing alright there. So we got Will on Carry 2, and we got Gouda on Tia 2. And these black belts collectively between the two runners really being like the MVPs of this Topher so far. Like,
absolutely.
Everyone's been punching for like 4 digits. They haven't really been evading anything. So this has been really good to have this black belt. So we'll see what Chaos has here for our runners in just a few minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. The buffed up black belts have been doing some serious work over, especially these last 5-10 minutes, but obviously they've been doing plenty of work throughout.
So 4 rounds of combat for Gouda. Tia 2 goes down. Had a bit of HP. I saw like 2 or 3 4-digit shots there before he went down. Kraken having Zap, and that was something Gouda did not see, because that could have really ruined Gouda's nut.
Oh yes, absolutely.
So huge break there for Gouda.
Yeah, he must have gotten better turn order on the Kraken fight then, because the Kraken didn't seem to have a lot of HP, so I suspect that the Master just punched him into insignificance before he got the chance to throw that Zap around.
Yeah, Kraken made the mistake of opening up with Swirl instead of opening up with Zap, so...
Yeah.
Here we go, 224-26. We got Chaos pulled for Gouda, so defense strats, white shirts, defense swords, all that good stuff. Oh no!
Oh dear.
That was the rudest thing ever. Chaos is like, well, see you later, buddy. I'm gonna just rub out this black belt here in the back row. So this is where Gouda having that higher level ninja is really going to kind of help him out here, because no more black belt means, you got to hope that katana doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And blinking, you're going to miss it, but here comes Will, so we're going to have simultaneous Chaoses up here in just a second. And Chaos with Nuke.
Oh dear. So this... I was going to say, this final battle with Chaos might be where those ribbons help.
Only 1 hit from the ninja, so this is a pretty evasive Chaos, it seems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're seeing that on Will's side too now.
Gouda's Black Wizard hanging on for dear life, trying to get out some lock cast before everybody goes down. 657, good shot from Chaos's rub missing on Will's side, thanks to all those ribbon -5s. Oh no! Chaos has stun and hits the ninja on Gouda's side.
Oh no! Oh, and down goes the black mage. So this may very well be the difference.
Oh, and he's got nuclear, so we have a nuclear Chaos.
Oh dear!
And Gouda gets ejected from the Temple of Fiends. It's got to do a second dive. And Will's still going. But Master's missing.
Yeah. Oh dear.
I don't know if Will ever picked up Block 2.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he did, because he's not even really looking at it, it seems.
I mean, I'm a fan of Hold A and Pray, but when you've got someone with what I'm guessing is probably near max evade, even stacking Tempers forever, that's hoping for a lot in those crits.
Yeah. To be fair, he's starting to get them, but he's also still seeing some misses, so... Oh, and there comes that nuke.
Uh-oh. So we know we got a nuclear coming around the corner.
Mm-hmm. Ah!
Ooh, gets it! Good job, Will, taking the victory with a, looks like official SRL time of 2 hours, 27 minutes, and 24 seconds.
So GG, WillBloodworth. Quite the race on both sides. My heavens.
Yeah, so, for all the back and forth and the first hour and some change of the seed, trying to speculate who was in front, who was behind. This was a very, 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 very close race. Like, both runners were on Chaos simultaneously, and just Guda got some just unfortunate RNG there at the end. Joined tonight, WillBloodworth. GG, sir. First place. How's it?
Well, according to what I heard from Guda, it was pretty much bad RNG on his part again.
Yeah, I mean, so it was a couple different things. I'll let Kronk give you kind of the rundown, but you made some good gambles and good checks there at the end, and it really paid out for you.
I always check validation chest. I've pulled ribbons out of there. I can't even count on two hands how many times I've pulled ribbons out of validation chests.
It's not just that either, because you got those two out of the vanilla Lefane area, and Guda did not get any of them. He did not check the validation chests. He did not check Lefane.
Oh, wow. Ouch.
Yeah. So you went in with 3 ribbons, and he went in with 0.
Wow. And he still got to Chaos, no problem.
Yeah, so his Lich and Carry fights went fine. He didn't see, I believe it was a nuclear from Lich. But you guys obviously both ran the same party comp, so the ninjas and the black belts made short work of it.
Yeah.
Guda's Kraken 2 fight actually opened up with Swirl instead of Zap.
Oh.
He got through it.
Oh.
And we saw Zap come out on your side. We were like, oh, Guda lucked out so hard. And then
I still clenched when it hit my black belt. I'm like, ugh! even with max MDef, you still like that. This is my ride right here. If this goes, I'm done. But the 3 ribbons, I'm thinking, okay, if he didn't get ribbons, this is gonna wipe him out almost entirely.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have any problems till Chaos. Unfortunately, what happened was Chaos opened up with Rub on the back row where his black belt was, and it landed.
Ugh, God, it's the only thing I saw with Rub. I didn't see any other Rubs on any Fiends, so I assumed it was Chaos who back rowed him. It sucks.
Yeah, so Guda's back at Kraken 2, so we'll see if Kraken 2 opens back up with Swirl again, or if he opens up with Zap and surprises Guda a little bit here.
Best of luck, sir.
Let's see what happens here. Then we'll get your thoughts on the seed. It was pretty interesting, at least from a spectator standpoint. So
it's a lot of fun. It's a whole lot of fun. I'll let you call the Fiends here.
Yeah, so we got a fast going out, nuke going out, another Swirl. So Kraken refusing to zap Guda, which definitely works in his favor here. A lot going out, and then we're just swinging and nuking and punching. And I'm pretty sure this Kraken will go down here in probably another shot or two. And there we go. So, so what did you think when you fished the sled of the marsh location?
I'm like, how long is it going to take him to find this if he hasn't already? Like, this could either be a really, really, really big lead, or it could mean, I'm behind because he got there before I did.
Was that a rhetorical question, or do you want to know the answer? Because I have both.
Well, obviously, I want to know the answer. I was busy playing my game. I was too busy to watch him play. So
Guda was in the air the hour and 52-minute mark.
Oh, and he caught up fast.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa! He must have done a lot of exploration on by boat and by canoe. If he even found the canoe early enough before that.
He checked a lot of locations before going back and turning the admin in. He got kicked out of the Provoca location where dwarfs were at. So he didn't find dwarfs until after you had already been there and turned in your adamant.
Oh, dang.
So he cleared like everything on foot. You know, he went through the Titans East, you know, through the marsh and the sea split. He even made his way down to like the on-rack area. He even checked out, you know, Crescent Lake, which was Melman on foot, before going back and turning in the adamant.
Right.
And yeah, that was a big thing. So it worked out for him because, you know, that he found a lot of shards and stuff early. And knocked out some early exploration while you were still kind of doing the inner sea stuff. But no, it's he literally last location the crystal for everything he had access to. Like he even went to Mirage and tried to go submarining, but didn't have the Oxyale. So.
Oh, jeez.
Okay. I mean, he had an incredible slingshot game there at the end. You know, his catch-up was fantastic because you were in the air for a bit. You know, you were able to navigate a lot of the entrances and everything that he had to either walk to or sail to or paddle to, and you were just like landing next to and walking in. So,
right. Yeah, he to come back from that big of a deficit off of not having an airship, that's pretty impressive. So yeah, having it come down to getting back row rubbed by Chaos, it's crappy. I don't know what level his black belt's at.
I think he's at like 44 right now. He's just got back to the Chaos fight, so
888.
that a shot.
If that's his max HP, then yeah, he's probably low to mid 40s. Mine was at 49 or 50 when I got there. I grinded to 48 because that's going to be max MDef. Like, there's nothing that can, other than 3256, there's nothing that can touch you at 48.
Yeah, we appreciated you doing the sandwich station grind there with the sandworms when you did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, wasn't going to promote without it.
Yes, there was a couple decent trap tiles throughout too. So you know, we had the Gurmaduces, we had the Three Eyes. We even had, I think, Metal Slimes were in a trap tile. They were just early in encounter. So
yeah, I actually wrote down, oh cool, there's a Gurmadusa grind here in an ice cave, and I wrote that down. I'm like, I'm going to come back here, and then I found the Third Eye grind. I was like, okay, never mind. Let's do this instead when I come back. And then I never ended up going back because, well, I just didn't have to.
Yeah,
48 was dealing with things. So I was tempted to go do the grind for the remaining 3 characters, but the most important thing was getting my black belt to high 40s as soon as possible, because with clamped fiends, you cannot go into Topher without 10 hits on your black belt and high MDef.
Yeah, absolutely. That was something we were talking about too with the 300% clamps on mobs. So while we were chatting about trap tiles, Guda knocking out Chaos on the second trip in. Didn't see that rub the second time through, and I don't think he even needed to throw out locks on the second dive. So just tempering from everybody and punching made his way in. So
I thought I saw a lock.
That's here to,
yeah,
he may have.
Yeah, he did toss out lock, and he also did see rub, but the second time around, rub decided not to work.
Mm-hmm. His only dead character is Will. What a shame.
GG, Guda. How'd you feel, buddy?
Oh, I felt awful. The whole thing, top to bottom. Worst freaking thing that's the worst seed I've ever had with level 1 nuke.
I was going to say, that was a slow level 1 nuke seed.
That was awful. Just awful.
Yeah, Kront and I were speculating how much worse this would have been if you guys either didn't have that level 1 nuke, or if you didn't have that vampire pack off the power cycle right there in the Canaria Castle location, because you guys both ground that for a good while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was a little surprised that it was 1 step off the encounter, or 1 step off the power cycle, so I went in, took a step, wiped, had to rename all characters again.
Oh no! Oh, I got a first turn nuke off on those guys. I'm like, okay, I found my grind immediately. I took literally 1 step, and I have a grind. Yep. So I took that to 21.
Oh wow, I only took it to 15, and I think that really hurt me a lot.
14 with my thieves, 21 with my black belt and black mage.
Very nice.
Yeah, glad I did it.
Yeah,
made explosion easy.
The when was my floater at like 1 hour and 45 minutes?
52.
Yeah, that's great.
Man.
Yeah. Because I full cleared everything else, and then I went back to Marshlocked, and I was like, gosh darn it.
Mhm.
Because I kept banging my head against carry. I would
Yeah.
grab my TNT, do carry, grab my TNT, do carry, grab my TNT, do carry, grab my TNT, do carry.
I grabbed the TNT, went out and saved, came back in and banged my head against carry, I think 4 or 5 times, trying to get confused and stun to work, but I forgot about stun being a 300 HP spell. It was stop that I thought I was casting, so I was I dyslexiated it up, and I got confused to land. Yeah, I got the wizard staff to land on the 4th attempt, but it lasted for 1 turn.
I got my wizard staff to land on the 12th turn, and it lasted for 1 turn. And it was with my thief that had a large knife. So
Owie.
Yeah,
that's cool.
No, that carry 1 was awful.
Yeah, I'm glad I decided to stop at 4.
Yeah, we were talking about that too. It's like, you found 2 fiends really early that could have kind of helped springboard your EXP since it was based on shards tonight. And unfortunately, all they both want to do is punch you really, 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 really hard because the best armor you had at that point was a pro rating -3.
Oh yeah.
So
the armor was awful. The whole early game, I'm just sitting there going, "This is terrible."
Yeah.
And then of course I did the vampires for a while, and then I did not go into the dungeon.
Oh, that's why. Yeah.
So I mean, once I got down there, I was like, "Hey, look, Will grabbed 5 shards before we even got off the ground. This is great."
It's true, it did. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing that we were lamenting throughout the seed was just how terrible the armor was. And even what ended up to a fair degree being the difference in the end, which was Will found 3 ribbons.
What?
He found 2 in Vanilla Lefane, and one of them was in one of the validation chests in Topher.
Yup.
See, I never even went into Lefane.
Yeah, I'm glad I did.
I was just like, meh, don't need to go in here.
Right.
I was looking for literally 1 shard, and I was like, I know where this 1 shard is.
Mm-hmm. I didn't have enough shards, so it's fortunate that I didn't. I wouldn't have found those, and I always check validation chests, because I keep pulling ribbons out. Like, every freaking time I check validation chests, I pull a ribbon out or something useful. It happens more often than not. Wow. So I take the time. It's really weird. It's a thing. I don't know.
So let's play a game real quick, Guda. Based on the armor of the seed, what do you think the ribbons rolled?
Well, I'm looking at the notes here, so I'm pretty sad. I mean, based on the way that it went, I would say ribbon -3.
Ribbon -5.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, of course. I thought this had +5. Apparently, my dyslexia is hitting too. So. But yeah. So. Yeah. It was great.
I wasn't disappointed to see that -5. I was just happy to see ribbons. It's like, whatever. I don't get the 1 absorbed from this. That's fine. I'm not going to get destroyed by lit 2. So that's fine.
Yeah, the off the hard reset, when you burnt 1 encounter, I got... How many Warmechs did I get my first time through Topher?
Probably 2.
3 or 5?
Are you serious?
Maybe 3? Maybe 4?
Did I get through on my first try? Because I think I did, and I saw 1 or 2 Warmechs. And I did the burn 1 and go in, too, so...
Oh.
That doesn't make... unless you took extra steps, I don't know.
You had 1 before the Phantom Tile on that floor. You had 1 on the top half of the starting floor in Topher. Then I think you had either 1 or 2 on the Earth floor.
Yep.
So I think you had 4 in there, if I remember.
That sounds about right.
Speaking of...
My first time through, I didn't put my black belt up front like I should have, and got one of my thieves and one of my ninjas just taken out instantly by Warmech because he punches for 500 when he crits.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was great. It was fun.
Yeah.
I was a little tilted.
I can imagine that.
Especially with the hour 50-minute floater.
Yeah, of all things, I'm sure that's probably the one that sucked the most.
Yeah, because it was TNT that I decided to just refuse to get until I got the floater, which turned into floater.
Mm-hmm.
We did note a little bit earlier, though, Gouda, though, even though you did get the floater late, you rebounded really, really well. I mean, really what made the final difference in this seed was you hit Chaos first. And Will was right up your tailpipe, but you hit Chaos first. But unfortunately, that zap that murdered your black belt on the back row.
Rub, yeah.
Oh, the rub, yeah, sorry. But that rub that murdered your black belt, unfortunately, I think that made the final difference because you were both poised to try to punch Chaos to death, and the black belt falling, unfortunately, handed the lead back to Will.
Yeah, I had level 44, 45 black belt at the time. He wasn't going to go down. It was going to be 100% fine. And based on the second time through, yeah. I mean, I still had plenty of health left on the black belt when I finished. So had I not gotten rubbed, and I mean, I did promote early, so that kills a Master's MDef. But I got promoted at I think 25. So I mean, he still had 120 MDef, which should be fine. But apparently not against Rub.
Yeah, that's crazy. Rub is such an inaccurate spell, too. To have that hit on a level 40 anything black belt is just stupid bad luck.
Yep. So as soon as that happened, I'm like, all right, at least I have a backup plan. And then that backup plan got nuked.
Yeah, Chaos ended up having... I kind of lost kind of HP. I think he probably rolled around like the 4,400 mark. But he at least had nuke and nuclear, so without having any kind of a defense against that, any kind of healing, you definitely had to go full offense and get him out before he got you down. So,
yeah, and in the end, I'm sure it was a great match. I'm gonna have to go back and watch it and see kind of. I know exactly where I messed up, and it was being stubborn on the TNT carry, and then when I found dwarves, I should have just went back, grabbed the TNT, went and turned it in, which would have put me at like an hour and 10 floater. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you had the early. The only catch is you just kept going back to Marsh Bottom because it wasn't incentivized.
Oh, that's right. It was Marsh Bottom was. Yeah,
because it was loose in that bottom center room.
Yep, TNT turned into key, which is what you needed.
Yeah, because the crystal was down there, and the crystal turned into the floater from Montoya.
That's right. It all meshes together.
It does. So speaking of meshing together, so this is what you guys' third match against each other with pretty much the same flag.
Yep.
So when are we going to see the next match?
I'm down. I'm always down. That's like we can do this forever, man. It seems to be a damn good matchup.
Right, and we just keep going back and forth. So
yeah, yes, we do.
And Chaos had 3,400 HP, which isn't too bad considering this is 1 to 300 clamped.
Yeah, that's not bad. It could have been a lot worse.
Oh yeah, it could have been way worse. He had that great 240 agi though.
God, I forgot I had lock.
Oh no.
Yeah, but I had the 10 hits on fast it up. I was doing okay.
Oh man.
Yeah.
The fact that Chaos hit, punched at all was amazing because chance of magic, 96 out of 128. Chance of skills, 64 out of 128. Skills, ink, nuclear.
Jeez.
Well, since you're looking, if you want to see the bullet you dodged, you should go look at the spell that Kraken 2 opens up with.
Yeah, oh my god, you had to have dodged a bullet there, yeah.
Oh yeah. Zap, but it's 48 out of 128. I got swirled twice, which is 64 out of 128.
Well, we saw the zap on Will's side, and we were just kind of like, good, it didn't see it.
Yep, I got super lucky that I didn't see it.
Yep, that could have 4-wiped you right there.
Especially with no ribbons.
That's
but
exactly
Topher gonna Topher, and no ribbon gonna no ribbon. Just gotta run it, and level 40s. Gotta hope. Gotta try and punch before you get punched. But these flags are a ton of fun. Entrance and floor shuffle, I've never been a big fan of entrance and floor shuffle, but these are a ton of fun. And Warmech was everywhere.
I'm grinding him right now for fun.
And he liked to ambush a lot.
Yeah, and then he went first, so he took out 2 party members. damn near every time I ran into him. That was I was pretty vocal about that here, and yeah.
But we got lucky. Warmack was punch happy. And we also got lucky that we got 2 white shirts, which was huge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the white shirts, and I think you guys had the defense sword from one of the tournaments as well. Not the tournament, but that was down from Ice Cave. So between the two, that really helped because a lot of the fiends really felt punch happy, at least early on. So that definitely made some of the early dives or the fiend 1 dives for some shards made them a lot safer at that point.
Mm-hmm. And they, with 1 to 300 clamped, they always hit hard. It just is. It just is.
It just is. Yeah.
I think that's a good summation for the whole thing. It just is.
It just is.
Yeah,
So,
in general, I'll probably challenge Will to these flags again here in a little bit once I lick my wounds and remember how to play this game.
I'm sure you did great. You caught up real fast for having found that floater when you did, so I think you played well.
I full cleared the rest of the game before I got there, so
Well, still, you did it quickly.
all I had to do was find the cities because they were all hanging out in Cardia.
They certainly were. Yeah, that was kind of goofy.
Yeah. So I guess we can start wrapping up here. Let Will continue his Warmack grind while we do some final thoughts. So, Guda, any final thoughts you want to share with the seed or say in general?
We've got the Irongol preseason is coming to a close here pretty quickly. We got another couple of weeks, so anybody who's interested in the Irongol, get your matches in before we have our season 1 rumble, which depending on the winner of Spell Zap and Greggly Puff, one of those two is likely going to be crafting the flags for that rumble, and hopefully everybody can make it out. It sounds like it's going to be, let me pull up my calendar here, June 20th. Probably later at night, like 9 or 10 Eastern daylight savings time. And likely we'll see if we can get like 20-30 people out for that and get on some pretty crazy Nans flags, because I'm sure Spellzap or Greg will make it just nuts for us, which is gonna be great. Let's hope for 4 Forest. I'm loving me some 4 Forest.
Yeah.
Other than that, like this seed, it was rough. I played it awful, so that doesn't help. But 3-eye grind for the 2nd place. I hate Rub Chaos when he reaches out and rubs you. Oh man, call the cops.
Not a good time.
Yeah, Will, you got anything you want to share?
It's fun killing Warmax. With nothing on the line, it's really fun killing these guys. And other than that, no, I always have fun playing these flags. I always have fun with these races. There's always something to them. There's always some hook somewhere that if you figure it out, if you get it right, it opens everything up for you. And this time it was doing the deep dives early. And normally I dive deeper before I dive wider. And normally that bites me in the butt, but this time it actually paid off. So I'm lucky. I got lucky this time.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was a lot of fun watching you guys do this thing. I want to say it was back and forth, even though you guys really weren't doing a lot of the same things at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
You just kind of like summed it up early. You guys were just kind of shadowing each other a lot of the seed, and it was nice seeing the swings and the back and forths and kind of, holding our breaths collectively when Warmack would pop up and just, punch with an ambush.
It's fun.
Aside from that, just want to thank Speed Gaming for letting us make use of their channel for the broadcast tonight, kind of show off some more Irongol, because, that's where a lot of the fun in FFR is. Big thanks to Karant for doing commentary with me tonight, and then for, behind the scenes, Kevin McLeod and DVS doing our tracking, kept us straight for the entire 2.5 hours, because you definitely need more than one set of eyes to keep this entrance floor shuffle straight, as I'm sure we all know. So with that, Karant, you want to take us on out, buddy?
Certainly. As Will and Warmack ride off into the sunset, thank you all for joining us for the Final Fantasy Randomizer Irongol Heavy Metal Championship. It has been a fantastic run with you all, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your Sunday evenings or Monday mornings, as it may be for many of us. Thank you all for joining us, and hopefully we will see you all around.